Warning: the following video has several spoilers for Project Horizons. Do not watch if you do not want spoilers. It also contains scathing criticism and lots of swearing. You have been warned.
Hello, and welcome back to Post Apoc Horse Talk. I'm your host, gargantuan, and this is my co-hosts, BG and Nexus of Concordia. Say hello, you two.
Hello.
Hi there.
And our guests today are the three returning guests we've had for the last three episodes. Whack, Sour Cherry, and Moonlight Grimoire. Say hello, all of you.
Hello.
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 So, this is going to be the final sprint to the finish. We'll be finally completing the Hearthswarming special now that we're basically at the end of January.
Oops.
Oops indeed.
Quite in character for Horizons, I would say.
But yes, let's get right into it and finish what we started. What was it? About 8 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chapter 61. Blackjack and Dawn fight without a sound. Dawn's voice is transmitted directly into Blackjack's head via their cybernetics. Blackjack really needs a netrunner or just to turn off her personal area network so folks can't just jack into her system and do whatever they want with her. Oh, and Cognitum speaks for the first time and is displeased with Dawn's actions, and she desires Blackjack to be her champion. Beyond that, the machine god speaks in the Royal Canterlot voice, probably nothing to worry about. Blackjack goes to prison, again, and Memory Orb of Rainbow Dash visiting Pinkie Pie, who is doing some fourth-dimensional shenanigans, and setting up all the plot-important memory orbs Rainbow Dash has set up where Little Pip and Blackjack will find them, to make certain the future goes the way it's supposed to, so we get a stable time loop, and free will is a joke in this as reality is determinative. That's enough philosophy on time travel for now. To be fair, Pinkie used her Pinkie Sense and PTMs to see every permutation of possible outcomes and went with what gave folks the best chance to succeed in her time and in the Wasteland. Still, brain hurts. The universe is deterministic, but free will exists. Rainbow Dash proves herself again to be the element of loyalty in believing Pinkie Pie and going through with her plan to set out crumb trails for those in the future to do what is needed to clean up the mistakes of wartime Equestria. Waking up things are wrong. Too much blood, too few guards, too quiet. Stratus is dead. Lighthooves, Morning Star, and Morning Glory are outside about to give a speech. And Hoarfrost shows up just in the nick of time to catch Blackjack. Then all the Enclave power armor power cycles and locks them down. Mysterious patrons once again. Yeah, this won't be good. Prolonged Star Wars reference is cute. Blackjack and co. get a new temporary companion, the mysterious Mare-Duel. Yes, the power armor version of that outfit from the show, hat included. Mare-Duel has maintained it for centuries, and that makes her one of three things: a machine, a ghoul, or an alicorn. Enclave Civil War is minutes away, and Mare-Duel pulls off her suit to show that she is Rainbow Dash as a ghoul. Neat. Project Horizon PH Cannon Rainbow couldn't kill Gilda, but Gilda could kill her, so she did. Rainbow Dash landed in a Bellfire crater, dead, then resurrected and became the Mare-Duel to try and save the Enclave from itself. Also, Lighthooves calls her grandma. Ew. Interesting tidbit here. According to Rainbow Dash, and more than a few characters in the story, the bombs started falling after a megaspell went off in Rome, the capital of the Zebra Nation. Retaliation occurred, but only after sending that message. Secrets and plots, oh my, oh yes. Rainbow Dash hates Luna for two reasons. First, killing her friends with the war, and second, when she showed her the S.P.E.C.I.A.L, all Luna cared about was weaponizing it. Public execution averted, and Glory is back to her normal self. Also, Lighthooves digs Blackjack out of a massive hole she's in for multiple Pegasi being dead in close proximity to her over the past day. Also, he just played the entirety of Thunderhead, played? It would have been pitted against the entirety of Thunderhead against the Enclave by saying the dead head of the Enclave, who died in Maripony, was actually the one who instructed him to research the cannibal plague and make it work against Pegasi. Uncertain, if true, but believable. There's a lot in this chapter.
I like the idea of Mare Do Well, but she comes off the left field and is introduced Rainbow Dash.
Yeah. There should have been more build up with Mare Joelle. Like, the idea is interesting, but it's like, oh no, they've only been, up in the clouds the entire time. It's like, okay. Because, like, in the chapter before, like, a invisible Pegasi who is supposed to be the Mare Joelle shows up, but we don't know that because they're using a stealth buff. So it's like, eh? And everyone's like, oh, that's just a myth that they exist. And it's like, okay. There should have been more, like, a couple of chapters ago when, like, talking about, Thunderhead. Oh, hey, here's some weird stories people tell around the place. It's like, okay, then we get an idea of the culture up there. Instead of just dumping us all in 2 chapters.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think this might have been made around the time K-Cat came out with some of her headcanon, for that she used for the campaigns. That's where
Also,
the Rainbow Dash became Mare Do Well thing came from, I think.
It's entirely possible. I don't know. It does feel a little bit rushed in showing up, where it's like, why didn't we have, like, a full proper briefing on this, like, after getting their ship on the ride to Thunderhead, or from the Enclave officer that interdicted them when they were going to Thunderhead, being like, hey, well, maybe you should actually know what the fuck this place is like, so that way you can blend in and do your job. Instead, it's just like, you'll figure it out. If not, well, we'll just blow the place up. And it's like,
yeah.
Nah.
And I will say that in this case, we know that Somber has used Chekhov's guns earlier and knows how to use them. And now this occurs. So there was definitely something going on that we probably did not plan for as in detail as he wanted.
Yeah, I'm seconding what Nixon said. Like, I remember around the time seeing that K-Cat blog post before that chapter came out, and then seeing that in the chapter, and also having a feeling that Somber must have read that blog post as well while writing it. But, well, without the author to ask directly, it's speculation, I guess.
Honestly, I'm kind of think that this might be one of those few instances that this isn't something wrong that Somber did. I think this might have been because of that blog post K-Cat's doing.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. They could have been going with that with someone else who did the whole night visit in chapter 60. And then it's just like, oh, hey, this came out. Well, I better do that to include lore that K-Cat put out. It's like,
If for nothing else than to stop people from going, but K-Cat said.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those minor things where I do agree. It feels like it's not Somber's fault.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a strange inclusion. Oh, yeah. Strangely included.
Yeah.
I would say when it comes to writing, if you're basically creating fan fiction, it's probably good that you invoke death of the author. When his work is done, you basically call it that. Anything that is added afterwards is just noise.
Yeah. It is something that you, especially with fan fiction, or anything that's being written while the source material is continuing on, which until what was it, November 2019, that was still going on with the show, and it's kind of like, well, you kind of have to say the show doesn't influence what goes on in this setting anymore because they've diverted.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you start getting wild things showing up out of nowhere that were never there before. It's like, well, that would have completely changed how things went, right?
Yeah, it's always a bit weird when you suddenly see FOE authors utilizing Princess Cadence or other latter season characters.
Yes. Like, unless you explicitly go out of your way to figure out how things would have worked out with those characters and just kind of, like, don't bring them up unless it's actually pertinent to the story, it gets a little awkward on handling because sometimes it's just exposition dump of, hey, here's the universe's history. Okay, you're updated. Moving back to the story.
Mhm.
Also, again with the conspiracy.
Repeat?
Yes.
I understood none of that.
So again with the conspiracy.
There's conspiracies within conspiracies within conspiracies. It is conspiracies all the way down.
I'm specifically referring to the part about the Zebra capital being nuked before they started launching nukes.
Yes.
Because I haven't, I only got to do the. One second. I've only gotten to chapter 17 of the sequel, but as far as I know, this is like directly contradicted and retconned in
No,
Homelands.
no, I don't believe it is. Because it's referenced later on in this fic precisely what that detonation is. Basically what happens is an agent is... I can't remember it. I think it was one of the members of the Marauders, one of the more impressionable members who
Yes.
is basically... They are...
What?
They go in to basically free a friend they thought was captured by the Zebra Empire, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And at the extraction point, they had put a bomb. Basically, it was to detonate when they this Pegasus, I believe it was a Pegasus, gets to that point and detonates there. So basically, this is an instance of the OIA are fucking about.
Yeah, because what it was one of the Marauders that was thought was dead was, and a lot of people in the Marauders speculated they were actually captured. It's like, hey, we have good evidence that they actually were captured. Here's the secret mission, go get them. And it was a 2-part mega spell. First was recall of all non-zebras to Equestria from the activation point, and the second was detonating a small-scale bomb, basically a matter swap. So yes, it was a mega spell, but it wasn't like a balefire bomb or something like that. It was, hey, what the fuck happened? There was a giant magical surge and then something exploded. What gives?
And obviously, probably quite reasonably at this point, since the capital got attacked by a mega spell, who else was likely going to use a mega spell against them except Equestria? So, mad is a thing, and the world went mad.
And as a polite message ahead of time, they're like, hey, so bang a spell went off here, it's time. And it's like, well, that gives us a little bit of time to get everyone, to safety. Not that many acted on it. So at that point, the stables were already closed, except for Stable 2.
Yeah, basically it was just that was the best possible scenario for Equestrian, so they knew somewhat that it was going to happen. And they had time to evacuate some people to the stables, though most obviously were going to die.
Yeah. And again, Stable Tech had already closed the doors like a day or two prior, which questionability on that. But the ones that hadn't been closed, like the one in Cantrell and Stable 2 in Ponyville, were still taking people.
I thought my opinion on the whole OIA everything in this fic couldn't get any lower. I've been proven wrong.
To be fair, it wasn't Golden Blood's idea. It was Mr. Horse, who was a complete and utter
Lunatic.
lunatic is the best word for it.
And also
To
believe
go-
that
That doesn't make it any better.
I think Garnet was also involved in it.
Yes. In fact, Garnet is responsible for a lot of the atrocities of the OIA.
Because Garnet was using the OIA to build on her own ambitions, and unsurprisingly, she died very ignobly in the middle of nowhere, her teeth and hair falling out, trying to get
Yep.
into the ultra bunker that was not a bunker at all.
We'll get to that in a couple chapters. We'll get to Redoubt.
Yeah, we'll get to that point. Anyone points on this chapter?
No, and the next chapter is 2 parts, so
Do you want me to do the whole chapter altogether, or
probably part 1, part 2, given how it exists.
all
And
right?
a lot of shit happens.
All right. So, chapter 62, part 1. Enclave Civil War, through lies and misdirection. Navarro will lose all reputation thanks to what Lighthooves has done. Too bad that in about a week or less, Lil Pip will be there and take over the SPP, rendering this entire plot moot, other than thousands and thousands of Pegasi about to die over lies and egos. Oh yeah. That was a great fucking punch in the gut. Storm Chaser is less than amused by Blackjack showing up on her ship again, telling her it's a trap. Frankly, Lighthooves and Rainbow Dash are fucking devious. She has no winning moves and has to fall for the bait. But she does one thing smart. She listens to Rampage and does not take Blackjack off the table like Lighthooves had planned. The engagement goes poorly. The core turns on and begins firing an evasion to make it way above the cloud layer. To make this even worse, Lighthose has augmented the Pegasi fighting force into white-clad cyber-pegas. Storm Chaser dies, comes back thanks to the Doctor in Rampage, and then resigns when Navarro orders the shelling of Thunderhead, as well as the capture of the Plague missiles for use to contaminate the wasteland, thus making quarantine a real thing that must be followed.
First off, chapter 62, part 1.
Yes.
Yes, because otherwise it is about 60,000 words.
That is already setting off flags for me, honestly.
So
Oh wait, this was you separating it into 2 parts.
No.
no,
It was
it is
already
published on fanfic in 2 parts.
Okay. Because I could see a 60,000 word chapter being pushed out.
Yeah, it was on the Google Docs, and then they broke into 2 because it was a little bit too much.
Just a little bit.
I think that's a lot even by Murky number 7 standards.
Yeah, Murky was 40 to 50,000 per chapter. But most of the bulk of this chapter goes into the engagement part that I was talking about. Probably about 2/3 of those 30,000 words was just being like, hey, we're going to just go and talk about how this fight is going from Blackjack's POV with just saying what is going on without any of her thoughts. It's kind of the common thing with Somber where it's like, there's a big fight. Characters aren't involved. They're just observing. We're just going to keep observing the fight instead of having them, do anything.
Being active.
Yeah, it's a very passive experience with it because it's like, I'm going to just give you a cinematic. And it's just like, okay.
It may
Yeah,
work on a
cinematic
movie.
with very unclear stakes or any sort of investment of the main character in either outcome.
Yeah, and it's like the writing is good, but I don't see the point of having it be there.
It's just a thing.
Also, the cyber Pegas are also just a thing.
Well, they're not
just a
just
thing
a
that,
thing.
well, that weren't a thing in the main fic and
That,
kind of
no,
don't
no, no, no.
really.
They make sense here because Lighthooves stole the plans for Project Steel Pony
Mhm.
and implemented it here using Thunderhead tech and resources.
Yes, and even mocked BJ about, hey, thank you for giving me the ace in the hole I needed for this, which
Yeah,
was Games Pony.
basically, Blackjack gave him on a silver platter the military edge that he needed to turn his ragtag group of mixed experience supporters into a generally scary, terrifying force that can actually stand up to the Enclave military without any training.
Fair enough. That sounds, when you put it like that, it sounds like a proper plan on Lightroop's part.
Yes.
Yeah, because he cybersized a bunch of reservists with very little field training or field practice. So it was going from a bunch of reservists and volunteers to a force that all had the programming of how to fight downloaded into them, as well as being really fucking hard to kill because fucking why not? Because everyone needs regeneration talismans at this point, right?
Apparently so, yes.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, is this the chapter in which Blackjack then overhears them talking about how they don't feel whole again, how they can't feel their bodies under the armor?
That's part 2.
Oh.
Which I can just say it now because it's a minor scene where they no longer feel whole. They feel like part of them is missing, and it's like, no, that part's still there. It's just under the plating. It's like, how are you certain? We can't look underneath the armor plating. I don't feel like myself anymore. It's that same thing that Blackjack's complained about before, where it's like they don't have feeling in most of their body anymore, and they don't have like a heartbeat or faster respiration. It's kind of this numb hum that is going through them instead of the usual organic thrums and beats of their body.
I still don't believe that this is something that I don't believe that this is something people would really experience if transhumanism to this extent really became a thing. But, this is Sombra's story. He can do what he wants.
It is a very common trope about transhumanism where the more chrome you put in you, the less you are. It's the reason why Shadowrun has it that the more augments you get, the less soul you have. Which I find entirely silly, but hey, that's their rules, not mine.
Yeah. We can go into a long diatribe about how transhumanism and how people just don't do it properly, but that's beside the point. Does anyone have anything else they want to add about this chapter?
Not really.
Alright, let's move on then. Unless you have something to say?
No. We need to keep moving.
Alright, chapter 62, part 2. Blackjack gets to Shadowbolt Tower. In the skies outside, a three-way civil war is being waged. One by Lighthooves and his cybernetic swarm and their civilian charges in Thunderhead. Another by the Loyalist Enclave, who care not about atrocities and only following orders and military power. The last is Storm Chasers faction, a faction of the Enclave who are more than military power and following orders, about doing what is right, and are moving to stop the cannibal plague from falling into the hooves of Navarro, as well as protect Thunderhead from marauding, bloodthirsty Navarro loyalists. Shadowbolt Tower has probably the healthiest stable in Equestria and all its races in it, with stale propaganda explicitly encouraging harmony between the species of ponies, and the place wasn't some hellhole or den of horrors. It was perfectly functional, happy, safe, everything a stable was meant to be before social experiments and to try and find a new and better way, and the occupant's own stupidity killed so many other stables. Oddly, even with being right over the core, said stable is unaffected by the hammer of innovation that tore through the airspace above the core when it activated its defenses. Same with Chapel. It isn't due to the lack of pest control star metal rings. No, it's something else, and why it was places where desperate anarchy and violence had taken place that the innovation was at its worst. Harmony beats back the motionless harmony of the Eater of Souls with its innovation. Blackjack sets into motion a plan to send these stable ponies to their old stable, with very few survivors there. And the good Steel Rangers who direly need these stable ponies for their order to survive, let alone run the stable. Blackjack realizes that she can't cut it without wings. She needs to be more. She returns to the augmentation room after clearing it, having cleared it of Lighthoof's loyalists, and plugs in her pip-buck to the systems. Stepping into the machine, she decides to stay awake for the whole thing. That was your first mistake. Upside, she feels no pain thanks to a field that suppresses pain. She didn't want to wait to wake up. Stars knows how long after the process is finished. She's on a tight timetable. The project selected from Steel Pony is a cyber alicorn. That's right, it's happening. But not just that. During the process, it's found out that she's pregnant. A few chapters ago, given a few chapters ago what was happening, it's P21's Echo / the dealer does his damn job to make certain the whole thing goes off without a hitch, and an interesting name is dropped: Eclipse. Eclipse was one of Golden Blood's personal entourage, and was specifically for wet work. Psalm may have been an assassin, but Eclipse was the true worker. So the fact that Cyber Alicorn upgrade is called an Eclipse model means one of two things. One, Eclipse was meant to get this, or designed it to who knows what end. Or two, Eclipse just happily shares the name and is meant to go on any Alicorn or princess in a dire act to aid them in the horrors of war. Once augmented, Blackjack has very little flesh exposed to air. Supreme protection, flight-capable wings, and the ability to use her mouth and talk through a speaker, instead of systems to take care of her restroom needs. She still has open-air access to what lies under her tail, for some reason. In another way, she's a more elegant Deus now. Blackjack destroys the cybernetic augmentation machine, so no one else can do what she has done. Nobody else can lose themselves to the machinery and lose their equanimity. Blackjack has a notable personality change. Totally isn't some kind of prelude to mental contamination again, or sight damage from being augmented to the point that she looks like a comic book villain, or just a plain old robot. Nah, totally nothing like that is going to happen. Lighthooves shows his colours. He hates everything, including himself. He's a self-destructive child screaming into the void, wanting to destroy it all with himself, end the Enclave, the Wasteland, and in the end be executed for it. For being right in the complacency of Thunderhead, the happy atrocity factory of Navarro, and wipe out the surface for its own horrors it hosted. Blackjack has other plans, namely firing a mega spell at herself, the tower, and the raptors around it, ending the conflict in searing death. Elegantly simple. Then the fire suppression systems kick in as a missile explodes and the two have a snowball fight. No joke, even Lighthooves can't handle it. Lighthooves is cooked when another missile fails to launch and cooks the hangar. The Navarro loyalists show up in time for Blackjack to activate a mega spell targeting her and to put an end to it all. This goes poorly as an implosion-type megaspell just sucks the air out of sight and makes everything crush in on itself from the lack of pressure within to resist any without. The compressed matter from it falls and crashes into the core, damaging it more. Blackjack lands in the core, and the Raptor Hurricane lands on her. So,
Boy.
yes, boy indeed.
What a chapter indeed.
Yeah.
Again with the fucking trans equinism that doesn't seem to make sense with reality, but there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and was it necessary?
It was needed. The story wrote her into that corner that she needed wings to get further up the tower.
Yeah.
Point.
Because she felt that there was too little time to do it on her own. But she was right.
I like how she just smashes it afterwards. She can be the only princess in town.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes,
That
yeah, and the weird, conspicuous need for her reproductive parts, including her womb, to be left intact. I totally see how Celestia and Luna would have prioritized that, given how many biological children they were having. Oh wait,
I mean,
Yep.
Celestia's had a few. Celestia had a fair few. Like, it's mentioned in later Somber Fix that there are a subgroup of zebras that have golden stripes because of her.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, it's revealed in Homelands that she married a lot of zebra Caesars and had lots of kids with them. Yes, that happens.
huh. Well, okay, I guess then she would have needed that functionality in her armor.
That was a very odd tidbit to include there, Somber. I see that
But
it did have
why?
value, though.
And the headache has now begun. Okay.
Oh boy.
I
Screaming
didn't know
internally
that.
and externally.
Yeah. Also, yeah, escalation central once more because the stakes just keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher.
I also suspect that this might have actually been where the whole thing ends, ignobly underneath a raptor.
Honestly, that would have probably been the best ending. At this point.
Yeah. It works as an end. It's just after massive fight that basically in the midst of an enclave civil war, and Blackjack died in the rubble by basically after having
Machine
decimated
falls,
parts of the
party
war.
dies.
Yes.
And I mean, beyond that, it also takes care of the issue of Project Horizons and the whole thing with Core, because no one can get the pit buck.
Yep.
Project Horizons will never fire, the core will never be activated, and just slowly over time, the area will be reclaimed because, again, as I mentioned, harmony beats back innovation. So people, enjoying a good life with one another will naturally just make the innovation eventually go away, and life will return. And it's just like, well, good job, Eater of Souls. You played yourself. You're now fucking dead twice.
Yep. And it was revealed in this particular chapter that actually occurs. So.
And the thing is, it doesn't. It means that you can form harmonious societies even in the direct shadow of the Eater of Souls.
Yes, because there are several that are pointing to as examples. Megamart is one of them, and the other is Chapel. And Flank kind of was one before Blackjack fucked it up.
Good job, hero.
I'm just saying that pretty much just leaving Little Pip to do what she's supposed to do, which is, firing off Guardians of Equestria to get rid of all of the background radiation above what is acceptable, and, let society rebuild, just let the NCR do their thing, and everything will be fine. We go to the Winchester and we wait for this to all blow over.
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the story keeps going, and even the bit about, the NCR rebuilding Equestria does not quite happen and goes sideways, and good fucking god, we're going to get to that point today or I'm going to start chugging bleach.
Oh boy, because that happens, yeah. Like, the NCR is founded in the next chapter.
Oh no, actually yeah, in the next chapter it has been founded by the end of it. But no, things going sideways with the NCR is part of the epilogue, because we totally needed to see the next 200 years of history. Yeah, get ready, folks. That's happening.
Oh no!
I need to get my whiskey or preparation.
Don't worry. I think we should take a break after the final chapter before the epilogue, because there's a lot to the epilogue.
Yes, it's a big fucking epilogue.
There's only 1,300 words to it, or 13,000 words to it. However, a lot of things that need to be talked about are in there.
Right. Okay. We get there. I will have a whiskey ready.
All right, let's chug steadily on then.
All
Let's
right.
get to our first time skip.
Yes, quite a big time skip. A couple of months, in fact.
Yep.
Chapter 63. Chapter opens with a third-person narration. No sign of Blackjack anywhere, but her plan to get the residents of Stable 96 to Stable 99 worked out flawlessly. Fuck. Anything that she's not directly involved with just fucking works.
Yes.
If you do the thing, and you do it right, and you don't fuck it up, it works.
When Blackjack plans for someone else to take care of something, it works out flawlessly. When she
It
takes
just-
care of something, everyone dies.
Yeah, it just works.
Yes, it just works.
Huh. She's a manager, not a leader in the field. Perhaps she should have realized this as her calling.
It would
Anyway,
have saved us a lot of trouble.
Anyway, even then, however, we see, thanks to these scenes, that there's still a major issue, the issue of the army surrounding the hoof. We are also seeing 3 months after Blackjack dropped into the core. In 3 months, she has failed to broadcast or send any sign of her survival. We see Psalm has gotten her body back, specifically the one Lacunai had used, but without a soul. When Lacunai released the memories of all soul, when Lacunai released the memories of all and their souls returned, Psalm took the place of the Gestalt entity that was Lacunai. This is a severe downgrade, but at least nobody can put her head on a pike after Lacunai did her duty to her species. Between scenes, we keep cutting back to interesting descriptions of the core. It lies in marketing, its strange materials, its general unease, the place radiates, it's palpable, and some good writing here. Some notes. First, society has ended slavery and serfdom. Folks are now paid to labour, and the nobility also has to work, but not as often as everyone works. So the former serfs do have to do less while actually being paid. This is a good step forward. No more slavery under a different name. The Reapers are doing fine as well, with an influx of refugees of all species. Chapel is doing well for itself, and P21 is a teacher. Scotch Tape is running a lot of the show for crisis management and construction. The town is growing. In fact, every settlement is viewed as growing, and folks are doing well, without Blackjack around. Funny how she is a walking disaster, almost like a curse had said the Maiden of the Stars would be. It's almost like it was true. Okay, so one group isn't doing fine. The Enclave is splintered and basically done. The last Thunderhead, the last aerial carrier of the Pegasi, was taken by the last elected head of a fleet of raptors for parts unknown. Control of the weather has been stripped away from them by Little Pip as well. Thunderhead, the city, this is confusing, damn it, was destroyed in the Megaspell, as well as bombardment from the Loyalist Enclave, with Navarro vaporized thanks to Little Pip taking over the SPP and wiping out the clouds around it, so 2 Enclave centers of power disappeared in a heartbeat. Also, Pip's telling of how the Enclave destroyed cultural sites, attacked peaceful settlements, and murdered children is how the Wasteland views the Enclave, and as such, their reputation is ruined for good. Bit of lore here: the core aided in its own construction. When workers when building it would come back in the morning to find their jobs done with no sign of who did it. The materials to build the place would have been taken 5 years away. The materials to build the place would have taken 5 years of every damn thing produced in Equestria going to it, and yet it took 3 years and far less resources. Clearly someone or something was lending an unseen hand in the construction of this malignant place. Beyond the core's layout was designed for 2 things: to confuse and confound attempts to leave, and to draw everything downward, endlessly downward towards one thing we know is there, the Tokamare. Sombra's dark magic from negative emotions shows up, and is the type of magic that does fuck up star metal. Curious. Steel Rain outs Dawn to the Cognitum for ruining the goddess's plan, and almost dies for it. Cognitum realizes that someone is spying through Steel Rain's pipbook, and we cut to Blackjack with the Perceptron as Rampage tackle hugs her.
Ah, Chekhov's gun. Guess that little cartoon movie arc was useful after all.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Honestly, I don't have much to say about this chapter because it's kind of a status update and generally well written. It's setting up this final arc, and it does a good job with it.
Also,
yes.
I find all of the like stuff about the core and all the buildings there, like all the housing and everything in there, was real fucking unsettling.
Yeah, it was unsettling, and there was specifically like Blackjack mentions like looking at like all the advertisements and everything there. It's like this is nothing but lies. This whole thing is a trap.
Like the fact that fucking rooms have drains in them really unsettled me.
Yeah, like the place is like intentionally built to be greatly unsettling, and the fact that it also confounds you when trying to leave, that's not good. That's basically it's a giant mega spell chamber. That's the only other thing I can think of that has that weird non-Euclidean geometry in the setting.
Eldritch horror.
Yeah. Don't worry, there's more of that coming in the next chapter. Yay.
So
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So this is the segue chapter. Hello, dear reader. Remember the original fic? We have now transcended its timeline.
Yep. And also, to poignantly say, chapter 63, which was this chapter, is the beginning of the last quote-unquote book of this series. And it's easier to think about Project Horizons in terms of books, because otherwise it's one very long book, and that gets a little weird at times.
Anyway, so chapter 64. Blackjack, Boo, and Rampage wander the core, encountering a flesh monster of many mouths, all star-shaped. It's pretty much a spawn of Yog-Sothoth. However, the pendant that blocks innovation causes the silvery wires that make up its skeleton to catch fire, as if a holy Christian cross is being applied to a demon. Of course, we got more of that unneeded Christian theology in my fucking horse apocalypse story.
Stop it.
Please stop.
Yes! Also, this is a creature Rampage encountered when she went to the core before and spent a whole month inside it, being devoured over and over. Pendant is a plastic-covered slither of moonstone. Blackjack, of course, obliges Rampage on a dare to eat moonstone and takes a tiny sliver of it. Due to this, she has one hell of a drug trip. Beyond this, she sees all souls in Rampage, including Rampage herself. Not that she realizes this. And something, puppeting Boo. Then the world starts melting and she sees Echo, who is distinctly terrified by this, and the 6 soul fragments of Rarity. All of them wearing a different face. The trip gets worse as her own flesh grows through her augments, and she slips into a dreamscape. This dreamscape is a memory of the past that hits her, one carried by the Moonstone, the impact of the Eater of Souls and its annihilation of the life that once was on the planet. She experiences the birth of the moon, which caused the Eater of Souls smashing into Equus, or which was caused by the Eater of Souls smashing into Equus, and the old soul of life being ejected with enough mass to make it to the planetoid. So yeah, Blackjack has a trip seeing the memories of a rock that has soul in it. Far out.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
I'm not done yet. Blackjack finds the OA office in the core, and things go sideways as Rampage helps Steel Rain pin down Blackjack. Blackjack, however, has other plans. Her mind gets weird as she runs through the place trying to escape with Boo and starts to see the appeal of the augmented future that Dawn had seen in the core, that she was seeing with her own eyes. When cornered, she spawns microstars that protect her. Guess that Maiden of the Stars thing was accurate. Then, as Rampage is dying from Blackjack's star friends, Blackjack gets a nice mental slap and disconnects from the network of the core and goes back to being herself. Her star friends turn into dark spheres and stop working. Yeah, seems like net running in the core is a terrible idea. Blackjack makes contact with something being used by Dawn and Cognitum, yet was aided by Golden Blood, begging her to finish his work so all may sing its song in glory and praise of Blackjack. All I can think of is that the Eater of Souls is demanding life renewed, freedom, and it will happily bow to Blackjack for this gift. The Legate shows up and confronts them, namely Boo, who is Discord, used to escape what would be his death oh so many chapters ago. So, that was a chapter.
That was a chapter.
Where do we even begin?
Well, let's begin with dun dun dun. Boo actually didn't have a soul of her
No,
own.
she still has a soul. She definitely has a soul.
So, yes and no. Discord explicitly states that she is forming a soul, but he has been riding shotgun in her.
So,
Ah.
yeah. I think it might have something to do with the fact that Discord, is a chaotic entity, and soul formation would be a pretty chaotic act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he does see Boo as his daughter, so there is that. Daughter in the sense of adoption, not biological.
But
Yeah.
there's also the fact is that it's later revealed that, Discord actually, gently encouraged her to not talk about the fact that Discord is riding shotgun inside her.
Yes. That's literally like the next chapter when they get out of the fight is that Blackjack and goes and asks Boo, why didn't you tell us? And it's like, well, he told me not to. It's like, okay, fair enough.
So it does seem
I
that
mean,
there is a person
You know,
there.
if
A
if
little
a
bit of
creature
wholesome.
that has the powers of technically a god tells you to, hey, please don't tell me I'm riding you, your soul here. What do you do? Of course you don't tell anyone.
I mean, yeah. I think Boo actually outright refers to Discord as Uncle Discord.
Yeah.
Though,
Okay,
being
which is legit kind of cute.
yes.
Yeah.
The whole Discord Boo thing, I actually think is not a bad thing at all. It's kind of a neat way, and also Discord being like, well, eventually everything comes in and then it is renewed in a new cycle. This is all this is.
Mhm.
Which is kind of the theme that's going on with regards to Ichiro's souls and this last part.
So did I miss something somewhere? Why is Rampage working with Steel Rain to take that blackjack?
Because Cognitum promised to kill her.
Yeah. Because Blackjack has constantly made her life worse and worse by trying to sort out the whole multiple personality thing and if she's real or not. And Cognitum is just like, yeah, I'll just fucking kill you.
And
So-
Rampage's reaction, like an absolute, normal person, is like, okay, yeah, let's go with that.
I mean, to be fair, Blackjack literally said, I'm not going to kill you and I'm going to make certain that you don't get killed. And it's just like, great, this person's doing exactly opposite of what I want. Oh, this person's offering me exactly what I want? Well,
Shit,
if she
motherfucker,
fails,
I'm in.
What?
Yeah.
Damn, I'm gonna jump on this train.
It must be also
Yeah.
noted that Rampage has been going on for like 200 years at this point.
Yes, she is 200 years old and has no concept of if she's a real person or not. She is. And she's been, like, the most exciting time of her life has been the past 6 months at this point. And in that time, she's been torn apart on a metaphysical level that makes her uncomfortable.
Yes. If your entire life has just been kind of dull tedium interspersed with random acts of extreme violence, suddenly having to deal with all of your fucking bottled up emotional problems and have ultra violence, that doesn't sound like a great fun time to you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There's a reason why she eats PTMs like they're fucking Tic Tacs.
Yes. To be fair, if I was in a situation, I'd probably eat PTMs like they're fucking Tic Tacs. Fucking pass it
I did
around.
some other drug that was less.
She
I
really
become
can't-
ultra smart.
Fair. I mean, part-time mentals actually are the charisma thing. So it's more calming her mind and making her more amenable by knowing how to actually talk to other people.
She puts her right in the groove, while also keeping her mind nice and sharp.
Thanks. Now all I'm imagining is the Emperor's New Groove with Rampage going like, "Oh,
you threw off my groove."
That's Blackjack, and Blackjack getting like fucking yeeted out of the window.
I'm sorry, you've thrown off the Emperor's groove.
To be fair, Blackjack does make a fitting analogy for Kronk. She is a walking, just frustrating situation if you're any type of semi-competent villain.
point.
Kronk, what a wonderful character.
Agreed.
Anyway, anything else on this chapter?
Just why won't Steel Rain just fucking die?
Yeah, like he should have been exited from the story ages ago.
Yes, but this is also the first time he's shown back up since he walked away at the mansion where they fought Deus in a tank.
So here is the thing. I think you wanted to mention yourself, I believe, Sour. You wanted to bring up the fact about the 6 slices of Rarity's soul. So the whole visual metaphor there is that. So we see in the original story that they're meant to be like, they look like the person that they're supposed to be from Little Pit's perspective.
Mhm.
But the thing is that fundamentally they're not parts of those characters' souls, are they?
Which is what they're talking about here. When Blackjack sees them, they're just little rarities that have been painted in the colors of her friends.
Yeah, and been implanted with like the mannerisms and the the general aesthetic of that character. They're not actually that character's soul.
It
Okay.
is, yeah, it is Rarity playing the part of her different friends.
Yes,
Masquerading, you could say.
That's the word.
that's a very good word, masquerading.
Fitting, if you ask me.
What I find more interesting is, the moon is a giant receptacle of soul energy.
Yes, it is almost all life that was on the world before the Eater of Souls impacted into it, and like our own planet, caused the core to be ejected into orbit.
I wanted to step in here with my very limited knowledge of astrophysics. There wouldn't be any life on the planet at the time when you could have smashed something into the planet big enough to, make an object come off that become the moon.
So the idea here is that this is not happening at the same time frame as it did on Earth. Also, we don't know if there was or wasn't life on Earth at that time. We just know that everything after that impact is where we have records, because before that, everything turned to liquid. So,
Well, thing is that we believe, from what we understand, this is a small aside. You can ignore this, audience, at the time. We believe at that time the Earth was still mostly a big ball of fucking molten rock. So
Pretty much.
that was why it was able to be hit by another big ball of flying rock and have something ejected and still be able to form a relatively smooth surface afterwards.
yes. And the thing is that you could do it with a larger mass later on, because it's mostly a situation of how fast was the impact to cause this, and what magical shit happened, because we're dealing with the corpse of a dead star god. So
I know we're dealing with some nonsense here, but I'm just pointing out there's a whole lot of fuckery here, and it doesn't make too much sense if you happen to have any kind of real knowledge of astrophysics. But beside that, it's fine.
Pretend that you do not know shit about astrophysics.
I mean, to be fair, for the most part, I just turn my brain off with stuff because it makes it easier, even though I have a background putting satellites in orbit. So cool.
Then again, I will also say that we are reading a hit story about talking magical ponies,
Yes.
and we are not reading a sci-fi novel yet.
Yes. In a universe where
Despite it
Pegasi...
going very, very close to it.
Yet.
Yes.
Oh,
In a
yes.
universe where we have magical flying winged horses that control the weather and regulate it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're getting to the sci-fi part soon enough.
Obligatory, oh boy.
It's actually not that bad.
Should we move on?
Yes.
All right.
Let's.
Chapter 65. The legate gets his head popped like an overripe grape, only to start regenerating, because of course he will. The brood of... I don't know how to say this word, but I heard...
Coilot.
Sorry?
Coilet or Coilot? Take your
Coilot.
pick.
The Brood of Coilot is figured out to be a fusion of Project Chimera and Project Steel Pony, stolen by the Zebras, as Coilt is the name of Discord. It explains them as being fleshy automatons over cybernetically enhanced normal zebras. Discord explains that the Legate is not just a zebra, but someone or something that has changed names and flesh time and again. Beyond that, he is something akin to Discord. We'll get onto that. Rampage is outed as the traitor in their midst, as she made a deal with Cognitum to get Blackjack a flesh and body, a flesh and blood body, put their differences behind them, and leave Blackjack and everyone else alone so they can live their lives in peace for the rest of their days and give Rampage her final death. Cog is rather smart on this front. Unfortunately, Blackjack knows what Cog's plans will do to the world and refuses. Discord answers an interesting question of how things could go so wrong, and even he is baffled. Something nudged the trajectory of history away from what he knew was going to happen, leaving him a spectator as the world went bad, went wrong, and burned to a cinder. And remember, Discord is a fourth-dimensional creature. He exists along every point in time and is alive in. And can actively move back and forth through time and manipulate reality as he sees fit. And he was caught off guard. Something changed history after he was turned back to stone, so he couldn't fix history going wrong. Suffice to say, someone changed probability of an outcome, and the world spiraled into a new direction. Whoever did this had wanted. The divergence is now set at when Discord was meant to get reformed, and because of that, Twiner becomes an alicorn, and instead war happens. Discord hated the war. Sure, it was chaos, but nothing is more boring than a corpse. Wasted potential for chaos is what a corpse is. Even Discord admits that there were players behind the scenes messing with things. Flesh and spirit. We know two spirits who gained plenty for this. The Eater of Souls and the Dealer. Oh no, not Echo. Echo and the Dealer are two different things, but we'll get onto that in due time. Discord and Blackjack engage in some philosophical talk about how too much order is bad for the world, and Discord never killed, only made folks miserable, even though he could have made people's heads explode. Why did he do this? Because chaos. His element is uncertainty and change. Breaking folks out of complacency and spurring them into action to change things around them is what he enjoyed. Of course, defining order too much and folks valuing order for the sake of order got him on the wrong side of Celestia and Equestria. The super robot Scorpion from Old World Blues shows up to break out to the enjoyable chat Discord and Blackjack were having. After flying away from the Robo Scorpion, Blackjack encounters undying flesh that hates, and appropriately she hates everything about the situation. Blackjack and Discord split up as Blackjack goes to confront Cognitum, and she has the mind of Princess Luna mated with Horse's failed Crusader mainframe replica, and her soul fused to that machine, just like her own sister. I believe the soul was fused later because Discord just went...
It's literally 2 paragraphs down. But the soul has been there the entire time, but it wasn't part of the machine.
Blackjack gets her mind transferred into her blank forcefully, and then has her soul stuffed in her. Cog has Blackjack's cybernetic body, and is happily willing to transfer the foal to a mare who can safely carry them to term. Blackjack is freaking out because she wanted Blackjack to agree to the whole thing, but Echo superseded Blackjack's wishes and made the choice for her, as he was close to fading to nothing. Discord shows up, stuffs Luna's soul into Cognitum, makes her go Nightmare Moon. Oops. Legate shows up and spills the beans. He's Amadi, a zebra researcher who's been working with Equestria to unlock the power of the core. He isn't an Achu, and beyond that, he made up the prophecy about the Maiden of the Stars as a useful tool to manipulate all. Just like his fellow immortal, Discord. Discord is also unenthusiastic about everything going on because it's rather boring, low-tier villainy. Cog tries to take control of Project Horizons, Turns out Golden Blood is up there and says no because Fluttershy is dead, everyone is dead, and thus Golden Blood prepares to annihilate all life as penance for the mistakes of the past and to end the relics of who survived death. Little does he know, Fluttershy is in fact alive right now.
Oh yes.
Very much so.
Cogniton takes off to rejoin her friends, see Blackjack's crew, and to get them to aid her while making them think that she's Blackjack to get to the moon and prevent Project Horizons from firing. Frankly, good plan. Steel Rain and the Legate disagreeing with Cog about leaving Blackjack alive, good move, and killer. Yeah, no, Blackjack survives. We'll cover that in the next chapter, but it ends with a footnote. Start new game, yes or no. We missed that opportunity several fucking chapters ago, Somber.
Also, it really is for the best that Golden Blood isn't aware that Fluttershy is alive. Would rather see him go out in a fight with the main protagonist than poor Fluttershy getting stuck with him for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Again.
I wish this trope of a villain just I can't have something, everything, the universe must be destroyed. I wish that trope would just cease to exist forever.
It's a shitty trope and it needs to stop.
It is a very childish reaction.
Yeah.
It's over the top, and it works for cartoonist villains, but when it's a serious villain, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I honestly think that Lighthooves did that same kind of trope, but better.
Yes.
I wanted to bring that up earlier, but I got distracted.
Yeah, that's fine. I think Lighthouse, it's more on a reasonable level of like they want to make everyone, deal with their problems and in themselves at the same time, because it's like, fucking do something instead of sitting around, you fucking assholes.
Deal with your hypocrisy, you disgusting, filthy meat sacks.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Golden Blood is just chilling it up there. He couldn't stop the war, didn't do shit about the wasteland, and now all of a sudden the world owes him for all that.
Yeah, for some fucking reason.
It's just sitting in there in the moon like an Austin Powers villain.
I mean, yeah, you can kind of see that clearly Golden Blood is a complete narcissist.
I mean, honestly, just how much of the war going the way it did was his fault.
Most of it, according to Project Horizons.
Yes, like there's a non-0% chance that most of the world's problem was caused by him.
I have a strong desire to make him cease.
Don't worry.
Not just to make him cease, just to rub it in his face that better people will pick up where he had failed to take up the mantle and make the world a better world.
Golden Blood. We will fucking discuss him at length in this point. But let's
move on.
Plodding
Yes.
on.
Before we move on, I will say that in this chapter, stuff about Discord is actually good. Just to repent this chapter a little bit, the Discord stuff is great. And actually, backtrack for Discord, it makes sense. It makes sense in his character.
Yeah, like the stuff around Discord actually is good, and I enjoy the writing. It's an interesting bit of stuff to expand upon what wasn't there and what was there, and it flows well enough that it doesn't feel out of left field or out of character.
Yes.
And thing is,
it actually feels very in character, which is a good thing.
And the thing is that, it's really kind of weird that the original fic doesn't really mention Discord at all, since that we know that he's definitely a canonical character, because he is the villain of the Season 2 opener.
Yeah, the main reason probably is that K-Cat was committed already what he was writing, and they didn't include Discord to...
Yes.
Yes, let's not forget how very early Fallout Equestria, the original fic, was written.
Yeah, the first fic was written in the hiatus between the first season and the second season.
Yes.
Honestly, looking back at the timeline of its creation, I was actually astonished by how quickly it was finished.
Yeah, it was written
it was under a year.
Yeah.
Which, for something of that length, is just out of this world. Especially when you look at how long other fics take to get to that point.
Yeah. To be fair to K-Cat, they had a good chunk of time where they could kind of just let their brain figure out stuff because they worked as a clerk at a hotel in a very remote part of Idaho. So
Makes sense.
I wish I had a job like that.
Mm.
K-Cat didn't wish that they had that job. They really disliked it. Because you get to deal with all the wild people out there wandering in.
Yeah, but
Should we
let's not
continue?
worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right, chapter 66. Blackjack's mind is stuck in the mainframe that once housed Cognitum. The copy of Blackjack that was killed was only sharing her senses with the machine her mind is now planted in. Steel Rain and Legate reveal two important things. First, they plan to kill Cog when she returns. Neither wish to serve under a delusional monster, and then they will split the world between them and be at peace. Two, the prophecy is real, and the Legate serves something else, something far greater, with a far different sense of time, and we will get on to what that is. I think we've kind of already said what that is multiple times.
Yes.
It's more fully explained will happen later.
While the story obfuscates what it is cruel and evil stars. Go figure, star-cursed zebra worship things whose names are invoking H.P. Lovecraft, the Eater's kin. Charm, yes, Princess Charm has the mind of Blackjack stuffed in her, and those still around in the chamber of the Tokamer, Eater of Souls, are doing their damnedest to put Blackjack's mind, body, and soul back in the same spot. Steel Rain disapproves of this, but while the feral ghoul version of Sanguine wants to make out with him, so those who two go dancing off for a while. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember that being the case, that Sanguine wasn't dead.
Yep.
So that kind of upsets our own commentary on there. That it was a somewhat fitting death. No, he was even denied that in the end.
Ah!
Oh, he still dies here, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
but the ending is much less poetic.
Yeah, I mean, now he turned into a mindless ghoul attacking whatever he sees.
Anyway, let's continue.
The transfer is successful, and Blackjack is alive again and fighting Steel Rain again. Charm almost kills herself and is now comatose to save Blackjack. Blackjack uses the Moonstone to cause Steel Rain's star metal armor to explode and trap him in it. And then she frees him from it, removes his Moonstone charm when he inevitably betrays her again, and dies a horrific liquefying death for refusing to take the chance of salvation. That's 3 villains down, now for the other 3.
Good fucking riddance.
Yes, good fucking riddance.
Mm-hmm.
This
He died in a way very appropriate for him because it was a very horrific death.
Yes, and this
Also
is
very easily prevented.
Oh yes, he just had to fucking stop betraying Blackjack.
Anyway.
Real simple fucking behavior right there he had to do, but no, he had to keep going.
He literally says, "I'm sorry, it's in my nature to backstab," and then dies.
Yes, basically it's the parable of the frog and the scorpion all over again.
I didn't realize that, but yes, god damn it.
The redoubt is entered. It is a confusing place to quickly explain. Naira Moon, way back when, had her castle in the Hoof. Her forces she amassed in the Shadow Realm that mirrors Equestria itself. Redoubt was made as a way to safely hide bat ponies from magical nuclear war that was coming. It was basically an out-of-phase castle where Black Pony Mountain is, and technically in a cave within that mountain. Blackjack tries to leave Redoubt and ends up in the Shadow World version of Chapel, and confronts the soul of Luna. Luna gets a fuck ton of agency here, and is shown to not have been manipulated by anyone. She did horrible things because she felt it was the right choice. She was manipulated even by Golden Blood. She even had a persona to hide who she was when she was out and about. This Eclipse character was her in hiding. The Eclipse model of cybernetic upgrades was an alicorn. Being an alicorn suddenly makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Also, Golden Blood is in Redoubt. Luna had dragon fire used for his execution to banish him to where all would think he was dead, where whatever is on the moon isn't golden blood, but certainly was set up by him. So, yeah. That fucking mountain that no one can fucking pin their thoughts on.
Yeah, that mountain that has absolutely nothing strange about it, and there's nothing to worry about. Oh yeah, it turns out to be a giant secret, over 1,000-year-old staging ground and castle for Nightmare Moon.
Basically, the lunar version of Canterlot.
Yeah, it is. One thing to note about Redoubt was that it was never meant to actually have anyone in it. It is a giant seed vault. A giant automated seed vault, because it was Golden Blood's plan for, if everything died, that it would just reseed the world when the time was right, if it worked. It was a last chance at, well, maybe something will come after if everything fails, but no one's going to be around to see it.
Yes, seed the world with Bad Pony Seed.
You did not make this any easier.
Listen, I was avoiding every little bit of the goddamn Bat Pony orgies that was going on, because there just was a lot of that.
What?
There are lots of Bat Pony orgies inside the Redoubt.
Yes.
And this is described.
This is described.
Oh yes, a lot of very incestuous Bat Pony orgies.
Stop that.
No. It's far less incestuous now because what's her face? Flutter Bitch is in there, and she has gotten them to open up to pull in some more refugees. So they're trying to expand their genetic base through that, and trying very, very hard. And it is described, and I just glazed right past that because everything in that scene was glazed, and I fucking hate this.
They really could have just been that could have been handled a lot more gracefully in just saying, hey, you need more members, and you don't have to bring up.
Don't say the word members.
Yes. You made that association, but thanks a lot.
Don't worry, the story makes the same association. It is insufferable.
BG, you brought that one on yourself.
I did.
Seriously, if you needed more people, just fucking ask. You don't need to do this crazy shit.
Yeah, so just like Veronica and sorry, go ahead.
So the whole thing is that the king, who's named Hades, obviously, because it's the underworld, with the wife of Persephone, because obviously it's the underworld. Let's steal every religion. Anyways.
Even taking the good religions and using those ones.
Alright, Mooney, please carry on.
So Hades is like, no, we can't let anyone in because it'll, give away the secret of where this is, even though only 2 people are able to teleport people in and out of the Redoubt, so the location will never be known unless you brought someone in who could somehow communicate to the outside, which you can't do. So his own logic falls apart within 2 sentences of itself, and the guy's a fucking moron. He also doesn't know that he's fucking inbred as all shit.
No one ever thought that, Hades wasn't a fucking idiot.
Oh, yes.
But then again, this is like a fucking trend at this point.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if this man had a fucking Habsburg chin and, like, a completely smooth brain.
Alright,
yes.
Carrying on.
So beyond this is told that Bat Ponies all have their own special talent that is magic-based. The king has the ability to just open up portals to black holes.
Oh.
Yes. The purple sun of
And
Xerxes.
they had to shout Oblivion every time. It's cartoonish. And yes, the line, "May Oblivion take you," is uttered repeatedly.
Do you want to cry? Because I want to cry.
I have no tears left for this story.
I think we're past the point where somebody just gave up.
Oh no. He gave up and came back and gave up and came back, and we're all suffering for it, including for Somber.
Somber, the man who couldn't give up, at least not for very long.
And so Blackjack also had that little problem of not letting go of problems whose pursuit would continue bringing upon suffering to her friends mostly.
Getting
Yes.
there is not the hard part. It's letting go.
Yeah.
Walk. Be afraid when we meet. Anyways.
Anyway, let's move on to the next chapter. I think very aptly named because we're going to get some fucking shit now. Chapter 67, Golden Blood. Blackjack is taken to a stable with a vault that Golden Blood is locked in. Alive or dead is unknown. But to access it, one must go through a few hoops of heart-stopping memory orbs. The first is of the attack on Littlehorn. Amadi was the one to do it, that star-cursed bastard. Blackjack experiences more memories of Golden Blood, and two important ones to note. The first is a meeting with Pinkie Pie, where he realizes that he has been played this entire time by the Eater of Souls, and switched gears. Thus, Horizons was born, or repurposed, as he made Horizons to vaporize the world in case of a tyrant war. A tyrant won the war. Yes, the surface will be wiped out, but Redoubt is not a stable for folks to live in. It is a seed bank, a facility to regrow all life that was once on Equus. The kicker? He tied a star spirit to Horizons. Why? Because even after the Eater of Souls smashed into Equus, it released a stupendous amount of soul energy, and life came back. Magical gems grew, spirits of the earth, nature, etc. came to be. So slamming a massive moonstone into the Eater of Souls would release more. Life might return in a generation instead of over 1,000 or 1,000,000 generations. He wished to have a button to reset the world and the sick games that had been played by him, by others, by Amadi, by the stars, and he had it with Horizons. So,
Again, with the needless inserting of your pet villain into other stories.
Ah,
I have no words.
This chapter is entirely going through 6 memory orbs of Golden Blood, and 4 of them, no, 3 of them really don't have much going on in it, so it's kind of pointless.
you know,
Boy, am I grateful that memory orbs were so underused in this fic until now.
you know what's even better? You know what's even better? That the fucking bomb that Amadi made is basically fucking detergent gone mad.
Yes, because what it was a chlorine talisman that was powered by star metal. So as it sucked up more souls from the people dying from the chlorine bomb, it produced more and more endlessly. It was a self-powering bomb.
I remember specifically it had like a Braxo as one of the ingredients it needed to make it. So little do you know, boys and girls, that Abraxo is one of the causes of the most devastating chemical agent known to equine kind, pink cloud.
Yep.
Don't eat that Abraxo now, because you might fucking die.
oh
Yeah.
no.
I mean, to be fair, Braxo did say it bonds to anything, so that way you can wipe it away.
Just fucking goddamn.
Also, amazingly, that was a very concise and short chapter, and for that I am thankful.
Same.
A rarity.
Yes. Despite containing multiple memory orbs, yeah, that's a first, having that being relatively short.
Alright, chapter 68. Blackjack and Golden Blood talk more. His bad reaction to Pinkie Pie pointing out the Eater of Souls was manipulating him and made him freak out due to on his mother's deathbed he had done the same and had gone from happily telling him that he will go live under the protection of Celestia to the next breath trying to crush him in a hug, shouting how he must die for he serves the Eater of Souls.
I'm sorry, was Goldenblood's mom like fucking clairvoyant or something? Like, what the fuck?
Just a seer.
Yeah, and she lived in the Zebra Land, so she was well accustomed to a lot of things there. And her death is what made him go back to Equestria and have to live with his dad, Blue Blood.
Oh.
No wonder Goldenblood's such a piece of shit.
That explains some things.
Pushing past this, Goldenblood explains that the Eater of Souls is a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't eat lesser souls, it eats the souls of celestial bodies. The souls that show as motes of light swarming like a galaxy around its form is less of it tormenting them and more of a captive audience, a hoard of bits, its trophies from worlds devoured. This is why, through the subtle manipulation of its song, it instructed others on how to create devices of horrific power. In the end, it found one puppet most useful, Goldenblood, and it used him to build Horizons and bind a star spirit to fire Horizons down onto itself. To teach Horse how to capture this high-speed meal so it could consume Horizons and the soul tied to it instead of being annihilated. Innovation does two things. The first is the insidious slow manipulation of an individual by nudging their mind to end its desires, akin to infrasonic mental manipulation or EM field produced by Reapers in Mass Effect. Slowly, it draws life to it, to do its bidding, to resurrect it and make themselves its slave. Amadi is also one such slave. He serves the stars, tainted by this manipulation, and granted boons for his service. And to what end he desires things to go is unknown, beyond he does what is asked of him by the lich stars who grant him power. Amadi, unlike Cog and Steel Rain, accepts his place as a servant, and as such will destroy all who stand between him and his cult of star worship. Blackjack drags Goldenblood's sorry ass out of his self-pity party, eternal torture session, in a way that entirely undermines Golden's self-destructive personality and self-centered shitty behavior. Suffice to say, she did exactly the right thing and denied him what he wanted the most, to die by an executioner instead of having to face the crimes he did to the world and likely just die forgotten and ignored in a ditch somewhere, or be killed by then the whole damn world explodes, or Blackjack gets drunk and learns of a talisman that King Hades, yes, that is the name, and you can guess his name of his wife, has let him come and go from the Shadow Realm. Blackjack, drunk, has a plan, more of a notion and a strong desire, and decides to go drag Goldenblood with her to get said item so she can finish the fight. Blackjack beats the shit out of the king and then fucks up and flings the talisman into a pool of oblivion, not realizing that the crown, obviously, would be the talisman. To be fair, she's drunk and severely concussed. The talisman did more than just give passage between the two realms, it kept the Nightmare Citadel out of phase with reality. With its unfortunate destruction, the castle now existed within the normal space again. Blackjack wins and maybe saves the Bat Ponies, but now the castle has to contend with being in the wasteland. A mixed bag here. Blackjack confronts Professor Zodiac about being the Zebra spy aiding in sending technology to the Zebras. Zodiac confesses it and admonishes Blackjack for getting so smart, tries to kill her, and then Calamity, Velvet, and Homage show up, believing that Blackjack is Blackjack because she knows things impossible for anyone else to know, and are rightly confused as to why they're in this story again. To be fair, it's a nice way to give a nod to Calamity getting the cybernetic replacement limb in the jump forward at the end of FOE, because that is why they're here. Now they're sticking it out due to the hoof does that to folks, and it sucks them in with something that they can't resist. Welcome to the game, Calamity, Homage, Life Bloom, and Velvet. Try not to die.
You're fucked.
Yes, they're very fucked.
Amusingly, nothing bad happens to them.
Yes, they don't
At
die.
all. They don't even get scarred.
Yes, because they
I don't
can't.
think-
They're immortal. They actually cannot die because we know what happens to them.
Yes, they are essential characters.
I was about to say, enter the essential tag for NPCs.
Mhm. And
I
it's also that, Little
Mm.
Pip is looking over them and has the power of a fucking god at this point, so.
Oh, that gets
I-
fucking interesting later.
Okay, I'm just going to say, I can see why Calamity Homage, basically that group, the original group, sounds a little bit, could come over to basically, as it was explained in the story, but it's
It didn't need to happen, and it makes everything lesser for having happened.
Yeah, it's always awkward having them, especially directly interacting with Blackjack. It's just, please no.
Like, it was fine when we were just like having the mention of, hey, this is where the main story is right now, and just hearing that over the radio, and just that, because it's like, okay, we have a frame of reference for what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
As soon as we're interacting in person, it's kind of like, it's always just awkward. Like, if it's another fanfic that's a side fic from the base story, that's fine. It's author collaboration. That's cool. This,
This feels off.
Yeah,
I-
we're all for the death of the author, which would allow this to happen, but this is not handled in a way that feels comfortable.
Yeah, like I'd say, as an example for how you could do it is, for example, to actually, consult the author of the story. Like, for example, several side fics that feature enclave characters. Well, the authors of those stories had a little friendly deal going on with each other that they would, have their characters cross paths while they were still in the enclave, like say meeting each other in the bar, and just as completely, inconspicuous characters that the main characters of the individual fics would talk to, rather than making a big deal out of it, like, oh, this is a major person that clearly the reader should be familiar with. Just basically not having this air of, hey, look at me, I'm talking to a celebrity here.
Yeah.
It happened. Let's not dwell on it too much, though. This isn't the first time that the fics have crossed paths, and this will be the last, fortunately, though. Because
Yeah,
this
that's
long
the thing.
time...
There is a more graceful way of doing it.
Yes. When it comes to the innovation thing explained, that's actually good. Though there's the world-consuming thing that needs to be stopped. That thing.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that particular aspect, but it's a thing. It's the story. It's what we got. Anywho, let us be on our way unless someone else has a comment.
Wait, what happens to Zodiac?
She dies horribly.
Not even mentioned here.
Is it really need to be mentioned every single time that fucking...
I mean,
fucking bitches die when they come into contact with Blackjack. Nothing more needs to be said, Nexus.
I suppose.
Yeah, consider if somebody fights Blackjack, they'll probably be with death. So yeah, let's continue.
Alright, chapter 69. Hey!
Nice.
Blackjack and Glory reunite, and the past month has been rough for Glory. Imposters, impersonators, crazy alicorns, and Cog intentionally fucking up their relationship. Boo saves the day by explaining everything. Yes, Boo. Boo is a good pony. Suffice to say that everyone's brains break going through what has happened here, because it is, even as the story says, pretty fucking far out there. Then again, everything that happens to Blackjack seems to be that way, so P21, Glory, and Scotch all accept her. Blackjack tells P21 that she is pregnant with his foal, and that Cognizant is running around with it. Given Blackjack's new blank body, she can't carry it herself, she'll have to find a surrogate. Oh, look at that really long-term fucking Chekhov's gun coming into effect now. However, Blackjack is also resigned to the idea of just putting her old body down and giving up on the whole family thing. P21 isn't willing to let that happen. He wants to be a proper father and wants that foal back. It is his as well as hers, and damned if he's going to fuck this up again.
Well,
Glory
he finally feels it.
Glory breaks up with Blackjack. Why? Because as much as she loves Blackjack, she gets treated like an item, something to protect, leave behind when it's dangerous, come back to collect later. Frankly, I can't blame Glory. And now that makes 2 characters in this chapter who have signed their death certificate. Shame, but we will get to that. Rampage, we find out, is a real pony. Why and how? Deus. Deus is her fucking father and Twist is her mother. Deus never told Rampage and always was looking after her as he could. He didn't know how to be a dad, but he wanted to. Blackjack gets shown how to be a blank, and not just an imposter, we're showing how taint doesn't negatively impact blanks like Boo, but a rad roach and some random asshole stallion that had to die for the demonstration to be believed. Shame, but whatever. Blackjack gives a Mass Effect style speech to rally those who showed up when it was announced that Cog was not Blackjack and the real Blackjack would be giving a talk at Blue Blood Manor. Blackjack puts Golden Blood in charge of directing the defense of the Hoof. 1, because it's thematically appropriate, as he pays for his sins and puts his love for the city into play, and that he gives 0 shits about any modern day faction, so he has no reason to fuck with any of them. Yeah, that's that chapter then.
Yep.
You know what we got here? Fucking Whiplash!
Essential tag lost.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yep.
So now Blackjack only has 2 essential companions, and that is Scotch Tape because she is a foal, which all foals should have the essential tag, but suffice to say, whatever. And then Rampage.
Boo.
Oh, yes. So 3. Though Boo is being left behind for this because, oh no, Boo does come along.
Boo has a part to play in all this.
Yes. But she doesn't go to the moon.
So then, in fact,
As a
she's not
chapter.
lost on the moon.
As a chapter, I believe this one works pretty well, considering it explains what's going on and comes basically act as a bridge to the next one, I believe.
Yeah.
What's to come. So
God, I fucking forgot that plot point in the next chapter. I just saw it reading down. It's like, oh god, right. That face. So
Which is a good segue, I think.
well, I just want to say this now because I didn't mention it earlier because I was trying to skip over all the fucking sex shit with the bat ponies. So, Stygius's sister had the hots for Blackjack, but Blackjack turned her down because, she's already in a relationship and doesn't want her Glory. Well, good job on that. Glory ended up ending that relationship anyways because she's kind of a moron on that front. Like, it makes sense the reason why she did it, but the reason why she did it also is kind of stupid.
What ends up happening is I believe that Blackjack and Glory, or rather Stygius' sister and Glory, end up doing the horizontal tango.
Tenebra. Her name's Tenebra.
Tenebra, that's it. Tenebra.
And that is literally the next episode. God damn it. Chapter.
Oh, man. Let's go.
Yes. Let's
I
get
think
this.
also that Golden Blood being put in charge of this was actually quite a sensible thing.
Yes.
Because not for the reasons that you stated. I think it's because he's also, believe it or not, he is a competent character and good at organizing stuff in crunch time. Because the OIA was always in crunch time. Every day was crunchy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what is this 8-hour workday? Not for us.
I have a 28-hour work day with like 10 minutes of rest time in all of that.
And once again, Blackjack shows an uncanny talent for delegating tasks. She should have done that more often.
She has an uncanny talent for putting people in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, like Grace. And her 2 siblings, the 2 siblings of Grace, can still eat shit.
But yeah, let us move on. Chapter 70. Blackjack and co. travel out and stock up on equipment, returning to chapel. There are a ton of folks, refugees mostly, milling about, but Charity is making a mint of every merc. Velvet decries this, and Blackjack just tells her to accept the necessary evil of capitalism.
Oh boy.
I've got some thoughts on this one.
Don't worry, I was quoting Blackjack at that point.
The Harbingers partially abandon Cognitum, with a recording from Steel Rain being played after Blackjack helps the de facto head of the Harbingers. This results in more troops to coordinate with for fighting off the Brood. Blackjack also finds definitive proof Rampage is a real pony, and going to Twist's office and finding photos of Rampage as a filly there. That's right, Rampage is a 200-year-old daughter of Twist and Deus, because we just needed that confirmed, didn't we? And there is also a memory orb just happily sitting there that helps prove this. Rampage's old name was Peppermint, fitting for the filly of Twist. And on the last day, Twist, as the bombs fell, removed the Feeling's talisman from herself and put it in Rampage, saving her right as the bombs hit Huffington. A big fucking party happens at Star House, with basically every named character in the story so far who is still alive. Glory hooks up with Stygius' sister Tenebra, who is mega gay for endless rebound sex. Everyone who brings gifts to Blackjack, and Blackjack offers advice to each person in turn. It is a nice long scene where we basically get to hear what others have been up to and to see the roster of who is on Blackjack's side to fight the nameless, faceless swarm that the Legate has. Golden Blood explains that they have roughly 24 hours until everything is over. Either Blackjack wins and the Hoof survives, or everyone dies. Oh, and Cog has Folly and lots of ammo for it.
Well, hey, we finally get the confirmation that it's not only male bat ponies whose naughty bits cure trauma. Wow.
Bad pony bits are magical.
Yeah, magical bat pony sex organs.
Yes, now for both genders. Wonderful.
Sexual therapists.
I think it's just Nightmare Moon blessed them with mind affecting bodies. So I just really don't want to go into the technical terminology of things right now.
They can fucking seduce someone with a wiggle of an eyebrow alone.
Yes.
Basically, yes. And while enthralled by them, you have no issues.
So they have literally and figuratively enchanted bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Any thoughts on the other things presented in the chapter?
It's hilarious seeing Blackjack giving everyone advice as they come to her and give her basically tribute before she goes off to the moon.
I'm going to
Don't
just
take
point out
Blackjack
here.
advice.
I'm going to point out here, no one should take this fucking useless idiot's advice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah.
She is a self-described idiot. Why would you trust her advice at all?
Yeah, like, at best... No, actually, no. Just, no.
There is no at
She's
best.
good at putting other, maybe a little bit smarter ponies, and that's a big maybe, in the right places, but that's about it. Otherwise, she's a bit of a moron.
Also, back to your point about Glory having a dumb reason to split up with Blackjack. I mean, it's kind of understandable that how frustrating it is to be treated as a burden like that.
Yes.
There was another fic that also had a cutesy take on, the Fallout players' tendency to park their companions when inconvenient, and in which the non-combatant protagonist got essentially parked by her companion and was super upset about it. I do hope to see stuff like that in fics more often. It's kind of cute. The frustration of the NPCs with the player.
Yeah. And the reason why I found it dumb is basically Glory still deeply loves Blackjack, but she can't be with her because she's scared that Blackjack won't treat her right if she stays with her. It's like, what? Like, I understand the internal logic of it, but the external logic just makes my brain feel like I have two gears opposing one another.
Fair. Anything else that's Anything else that catches anyone's eyes or ears on this chapter?
A little bit good that Rampage backstory gets some little closure here, hopefully.
Yes, she finally has closure on it, and the only issue is that they're not in touch with Rampage because Rampage is sticking to the flank of Cog right now. So they can't tell her, hey, no, you're actually a real person, so maybe don't kill yourself, or at least let us make it so you can have one final death after living a normal life. But yeah.
Nothing else, yeah. On that is on mind.
Then let's move hastily on to the next chapter of this climactic part of the book.
Yes.
Boy.
So, let us be on our way. Chapter 71. Blackjack understands that some will die this day, but it's a sacrifice that she is willing to make. She worries that who will die first. She hurts knowing she will be the last to die of everyone. She feels like a ghost, and she looks over the ponies resting before the battle in the morning. Boo comforts her as she longingly stares out of a window, coming to terms with it, through her self-destruct side remains as she is jealous of Lacunae for dying first and staying dead. Lancer shows up and updates Blackjack on the timetable, as it moved up on Cog leaving. They have a few hours, not a whole night. With a scramble, everyone is alerted and woken up. Time to fight and time to die for many, but this is a war, and the war of so long ago never ended in Huffington. Given what we know of Horizons, the prophecy of the Star Maiden means a bit different when explained again. That she will come and destroy the cursed city. Yeah, gear up for that, as it is coming. At the very least, the core is going to be gone at the end of this, because what point is reconfirming a prophecy as real if it isn't going to come true? Even Big Daddy, when he looks at Blackjack, sees stars, and always has. Infiltration of the spaceport goes from Plan A to Plan C in a hurry. Plan C is aerial insertion novel. Group during the infiltration encounter 4 Starkateri, the last of their tribe outside of Amadi, but with how tribes work of the blood of the mother informs the tribe's association, he isn't in a position to sire more of his kind. They get defeated, humiliated by Blackjack, and are terrified when they realize who she is and start to see Amade, the legate, has played them all for thousands of years. Yes, thousands. Blackjack has to choose who stays behind to hold off the brood. Getting some Mass Effect 2 vibes here. Please pick the racist. She picks Glory, and goodbye, Glory. Blackjack failed your loyalty mission, so you shall die in a few scenes. Blackjack fights the legate to a standstill and outs him as a Starkateri, causing the remnant to abandon him. He turns the brood on everyone to kill everyone and everything, as well as launching the Bellfire bomb at the spaceport. P-21 freezes, the legate and Blackjack shatters him, and the two join Scott on the last rocket to the moon, and Glory dies as the rocket launches, either toasted by the flames or the Bellfire bomb impacting in a few minutes. If not, the brood is working to breach the launch control. She's fucked no matter what, and says her goodbyes. Blackjack is devastated at losing another friend and a lover. So yeah, this was basically this was the sadness chapter, even more so than other chapters.
Indeed, we lose the OG Pegapet.
Again, I can't. We're not into this thing, but I'm not sure if it's somewhere later retconning things, or just this being a perspective thing, character perspective thing. But I feel like the stuff about the Starkateri is getting retcon later.
It's possible, but he had laid out prior that tribe association is done through the mother, not the father, and that as far as anyone knows, these are the last 5 Starkateri. One being obviously the legate, and then the other 4 who are all worshipping quite literally the 4 gods of chaos from Warhammer, even with the appropriate color schemes and magical styles.
Eesh.
They're not named after them, thankfully.
Mm,
They still use the same colors.
yeah, and we get to spend time with the embodiment of Zinch in the follow-up fic to this, Homelands.
Don't worry, we get to spend the last chapter with her as well.
Though, to be fair, she does become a much better character in Homelands than she is here.
And here she's also the first one to realize what was actually going on, so she's actually being pretty intelligent.
But the thing is
Wait,
that
which one?
Pythia.
Yeah, Pythia. Pythia is actually, like, when she shows up, she's actually an interesting character, and she's actually has some wisdom to her. And it's fun watching her fucking panic as things are going wrong, and they're like, shit's not right, why is it not right?
The thing is that, you know, that the character can see the future. That means she should have known this was going to happen ahead of time. And she does do this in the follow-up.
So the thing is that she's like, why is the future still clouded? And Blackjack, well, actually, P21 offers, maybe it's not clouded because Blackjack or Cognitum, maybe it's clouded because of Legate. And that's when they were like, fuck, he's been playing us as well as the Eater. Okay, well, shit, we're out.
Thing is that, you know, I think it is retconned the amount of Starkateri out there, because I'm pretty sure there will be more than just 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. No, like we encounter Starkateri later directly, and they are known Starkateri. They're not just like secretly Starkateri.
I mean, this is a situation of, in my view, it's going off of, as far as what is in this area, there's only these 5.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to say, you know, basically they're the last of their tribe, because as far as the story is concerned, especially since it's being told by Blackjack of all people, and she doesn't know anything that happens with Scotch Tape after the story, she doesn't think there are any more of them.
I'm just wondering how much of that was planned by Sompa.
Probably not a lot.
They didn't intend to write Homelands, and then they did.
I remember...
Moving on, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Just one last comment, then we'll move on. I believe that you mentioned it in the previous part, that what Somber actually wanted to do was write a story of the bastard. But, you know, his audience said, no, we want Zeebs. Give us Zeebs.
Oh.
Thankfully.
Yeah, we'll get to Bastard.
We'll get to Bastard.
Bastard?
Oh god, you'll fucking love-hate him. You'll fucking love-hate him, Sour.
So let's
All right.
make sure we get there on time. Chapter 72.
Okay, Project Horizons is now in space. Ponies don't handle zero gravity all that well. Blackjack uses the remote viewing helmet to observe what's going down in the hoof, given that they have a while to get to the moon. The moon moons generally orbit a long way from the planet. Unfortunately, this means we see a bunch of stuff going on for the Battle of the Hoof. While yes, it's nice to see, it is also something that we would have been interesting to observe the aftermath of after, be told how it went, and leave the bloody details for the readers to imagine. Of note, Nightmare Castle falls, but the folks take refuge inside the mega stable within. Big Daddy dies, P21 and Blackjack have sex. We learn things that make me want to have one up. I'm really having trouble with reading this today. We learn things that make me want to one up Blackjack's ability to chug an entire bottle of whiskey in one go.
You're very hurried.
We get the Legate's plan. And
We get
the Legate's plan and desires explained. He basically is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. He wishes to use the planet as a vessel to sail over the cosmos with his star pals, and consume star after star, planet after planet. All the while, the souls of all living things consumed shall sing his praise. Blackjack hops into Cognitum. They have a little chit-chat, and after another offer is made to let her... Another offer is made by her to Blackjack and her friends to go live a peaceful life, even to give Blackjack back her kids. Cognitum is likely getting worried that Blackjack will actually put an end to her and her soul. She also dismisses out of hand that the Eater of Souls is a thing, given when in the core, the damn thing spoke to Blackjack, Boo, and Rampage. Yeah, that's not true. Lege is right, and we have seen his fellow immortal tribe members calling upon the stars and doing magic thanks to it. Eater is waiting to be revived, and Cognitum is going to walk right into that trap. Blackjack and Co. land on the moon. Blackjack almost depressurizes them to the surface of the moon like a moron. The welcome banner for Princess Luna was too big and lost an A at the end. And there is an astrostable. And finally, Rampage is their greeter and reluctantly informing Blackjack, P21, and Scotch that she has to kill them. Stop with the cliffhangers. They're nice the first couple of times, then landing should have been the start of the next chapter. Beyond this, it makes me think of Dragon Ball Z with stretching out stuff.
I concur with that last statement because, oh my God.
Next time on Project Horizons, please stop.
Yeah, that's just.
Yeah, just.
I will
fucking
say
cease.
that season 1 callback with the too short banner, that is a cute little reminder of how doofy and cartoony the ponies are. Plus points
Yes.
for that. That was cute. Genuinely cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's a nice point of grounding for the reader.
Yes. Which we really need with the absurdity of everything. Like, I glazed over the entire Battle of the Hoof because there's a lot of stuff going on. And the highlights of it are taken into account in 74 because that's where the main points are coming in place that I didn't summarize there. Because it goes on for a long time of giving you the play-by-play as she is experiencing the fight from one person's perspective and then another's.
It's something. It's okay.
Is
I do say that the battle could have been left without description because Blackjack is not there.
Mhm.
She doesn't need to know the results in the middle of the combat. She just needs to know what is the aftermath.
Yes.
Or, if at all possible, if she wants to get some details in the middle of the fight, they could be sporadic responses, like
Yes.
updates, like that.
Yeah.
Fuck off, it's a thing.
And stuff that we actually care about. Oh no, Big Daddy died. Everybody cared about that.
Yeah, and
I'll
then
be
there
fair.
would be.
I'll be fair. The way he died was pretty fucking awesome.
Yes, it is. Most of the character deaths in that are actually pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. The only issue is that it would have been nice to have a part where when they get back to the planet, where they get debriefed and have after action report, and say, okay, now we know what's going on, and get kind of the embellished tale of how different people died that they were actually able to report on, and say, okay, cool.
Okay, now let's power through that cliffhanger.
Yes,
Chapter
on to
73.
Alright, chapter 73. Blackjack continues to fail to make right the offer to Rampage to not to kill her, but to remove her ability to come back to life. Give Rampage the option to die when she wants to, but get to live one last life as she pleases. Of course, this means the negotiations go up in smoke, but Rampage is deeply saddened by the news of Glory's death. Blackjack and Rampage go out a window and depressurize a segment of the facility. Blackjack gets high off the moon dust again, but the moon tells her to get the fuck up and back in the facility. Back inside, Blackjack jams memories into Rampage of Twist and Peppermint and then tries to burn the angel out of her. It might have worked. Following this, they decide to go to the Astrostable instead of the palace because doing the obvious thing and then getting stuck and unable to proceed would be a bad move. Blackjack does learn, it's nice to see that. Blackjack puts on the remote viewer and it explodes. Her head doesn't, but it feels like it did. Now she sees everything going on in the hoof at the same time and reasonably wishes to die because of the overstimulation. Blackjack, while suffering from a stroke and connecting to far too many other ponies' perceptions, ends up taking her to the star spirit attached to Project Horizons. There is some good dialogue here. Honestly, it's also good words for anyone to hear. It is about going on, about living and knowing that life is what we make of it, and we shouldn't have hate for life, for the cycle of it, to just do our best to make it as good as possible, and not to make it worse for others. As hard as it is to go on, do it. Do it and find ways to help others do so. On a lighter topic, Blackjack had several mini strokes thanks to her shotgunning unhealthy magical practices, and has issues seeing and talking straight. The stable is full of ponies from the Ministry of Awesome and the OIA, who were secreted up to the place by a member of the OIA who saw the writing on the wall. Project Horizons was built to kill Luna or whatever tyrant came up to the moon to try and claim the palace. The throne was nothing but a trap. The Megaspell launcher would kill any in the throne room when it went off. A trap for the egotistical. Blackjack creates a team telepathy network through her brain. Not a hive mind, just an IRC channel for the group to talk to work with this. A group to work with to stay silent as they operate on disabling horizons and then disabling cognitum. Blackjack meets Tom after meeting and talking to a reluctant and broken Echo, who feels Cog should get her shot at restoring Equestria under her cybernetic iron hoof. Tom agrees. Kinda. He wishes to be fired so he may annihilate the Eater of Souls. Yes. Tom looks like an alicorn to boot. Well, the etched shape of them on the massive moonstone primed to hit Huffington. So, I don't like this reference. I hate this reference. This reference makes me sad.
Yeah. And it's all payoff at the end.
Yeah, it falls a bit flat compared to the sign one earlier.
Yeah, it's like, why did it have to be named Tom? Like, why? And like, even in the story says, I don't know why that name was picked, but that was the name that was picked, and it's just like,
Well, there's two that can come to mind. It's either reference to Tom,
yes,
the boulder that Friday picked up,
Yes.
yes, it's exactly that.
Or it's reference to Major Tom, the song by David Bowie.
I had thought of that one, but that actually fits with the whole storyline with Project Horizons, like the actual project, not the story itself. Has its ground control come into Major Tom. And that fits very accurately with...
Maybe it's both at the same time?
It's probably both, and I get the feeling that one was not intended. Oh.
Considering we have a Psycho Shy, I just think it's a slightly tasteless fandom meme reference, but let's move on from that.
Oh.
Yeah, let's not get caught up in this.
Yeah, please.
Alright. Chapter 75, Part 1. Another Part 2 two-part chapter.
No, it's 74.
No, oh yeah, 74. We're on call. Sorry.
It's fine.
Blackjack and Co. commune with Tom. Tom lays out to save Equus that horizons must be fired or a slow, withering death awaits Equus, their solar system, and the rest of the universe. His firing into the Eaters would end the Eater and new life would spring forth, but all prior life would end. A third option existed, but now is long gone. We'll get on to that. The Eater is explained to be a creature of ultimate order. No wonder Discord disliked it, and its minions so greatly. Tom is, by the way, the entire collection of souls from life on Equus from when the Eater impacted. The spirits on the moon interacted with Tom, the Eater's jailer, and thus together the spirits became the rocks, and the dust, and the gems instead. And each one is defiant of the Eater, singing as hard and as loudly as they can, and thus protecting any who wear them. Amusingly, Blackjack declines all options given, staying for hope for an unseen way to victory. Befitting as she is the fool. By this I mean she brings change and does things without knowing if she can succeed in doing it. A fool is 1,000 times more dangerous than a master. To this end, she uprights the apple cart with her refusal to give in to the options laid out before her. Discord muses, yes, he is dead, but that hardly matters now. But that is what would happen, and how those with such foresight and conviction lock themselves into one option must be right and ignore all other options to the degree of self-justifying it. To be fair, this does happen to be most people. It also allows free will to exist once more, and those who said it didn't were too rigid in what they believed the outcome would be. Blackjack and Luna's soul have a heart-to-heart. The Luna's soul relents and lets Blackjack into her. Kinda. Her mind has been transferred, not her soul. We'll get onto that. Also, Blackjack is now a proper alicorn. Not just a unicorn with cybernetic wounds, but a boon of Luna's soul. Echo dies as Cog has taken over the facility and turns the mecha sprites against the group. Blackjack finally kills Cog, but in the process, P21 is impaled by debris and cannot be saved. Rest in peace, P21. P21's cutie mark is shown, a chained heart. And then Blackjack has to leave the moon and her friend behind. Rampage is also pinned, and if she moves, P21 dies. If they wait for what they miss, they miss getting home before Tom impacts the Eater of Souls. Blackjack has to leave behind her two friends. One will die in minutes, but save who knows how many. The other will be trapped in eternal undeath on the moon. It sucks to be Blackjack. They escape the moon. The lunar planet is vaporized when Horizons fires. Okay. So.
Okay. Blackjack goes for option D.
No, she goes for option tilde.
She goes for option I shoot the Star Child and people wonder how the fuck you fired a bullet in dialogue.
The best option never made.
Good that Blackjack didn't take terrifying question mark.
Yeah, she picks option upside down question mark.
So, P21 dead, Rampage out of the picture, Glory died previous chapter. Let's see how many more dominoes fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, that plan, we might as well say it now, is to... So, the original plan for Cognitum was to catch the... Oh, sorry, not the Cognitum. The Eater of Souls was to catch the Moonstone as it hits the core. So the Eater of Souls can consume it and become all-powerful again and begin its reign of domination across all of the cosmos.
Yes, and this is through using the Fate Shields.
The original plan is to have no Fate Shields and smash straight into the core, obliterating the Eater and releasing all the energy in one fell swoop, killing everything, but allowing life to return. Option question mark is a halfway house between the two. It's having half the Fate Shields intact and the other half taken out, so that the Moonstone gets to impact into the Eater of Souls and transfer that Moonstone directly into the Eater, thus killing it, but not allowing the energy to escape and just detonate the whole planet.
And what was the third option they were locked out of?
It's never explained. Legitimately is never explained.
Right.
Okay, cool. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next chapter?
Not really.
Except that Blackjack becomes an alicorn. Yay!
Yes, she is actually a proper alicorn at this point, like completely a alicorn with some cybernetic additions to herself. But yeah,
I guess she went to the castle.
yeah. Actually, I don't even think she has cybernetic additions at this point. She is just completely. Does okay. Right. It was that her flesh regrew underneath the machine, but it works in concert. And she's a bit less machine now and actually has a face again.
All right. Chapter 75, Part 1, To the Last.
Blackjack is stuck on the ship returning home. She watches people fight, people die, the legate panic as his plans fall apart. Lots of people swarm into the core because that is the legate's plan. Rainbow Dash finally dies in a blaze of fucking glory, crashing a raptor with the squeaky seat into a living storm and blowing both up. Crumpet dies trying to get Psalm to stop being mopey. I don't think she dies.
They write it like she dies. That's something should have corrected. But yeah, she doesn't die. She passes out and needs immediate medical attention or will die.
Might have worked. Chapel is under attack. Half-Hearts are throwing in to protect it, led by the ghoul Heartshine. Deus dies saving charity. Half-Hearts find a job stalling the brood.
Should be a stalling the brood. Sorry.
But the broods push everyone into Huffington, into the stables or the core. They want as many people in the core as possible for when the Eater of Souls awakens. Not much really happens in here. It's just really just a catch-up chapter, and I quite like the catch-up chapters personally.
Yes, they're actually really good, and like that is a summary that is covering I think 25,000 words, but you know everything that happens in it and pretty clearly. Frankly, I say it's better chapters for that.
I could say that Sober could have used more of those instead of overtly explaining.
I do love that there's that detail of Rainbow Dash knows which of the raptors that she's on because the chair is squeaky.
Yes, I did not put that in, but that is entirely what happens. So she's just like, oh hey, this one has that chair that squeaks this way. It's this one. Okay.
I also really liked that that Deus. I was really emotional actually when Deus died in this chapter.
Yes, their death is a really fucking good and epic death.
But yeah, I'm not. This isn't also the chapter when things start, breaking down for the defenders of Huffington at this point.
It kind of is. Like a lot of places are folding, and that's why they're retreating back into the stables, and the society is overrun.
Though there's a really cool scene with that, I believe, in the next chapter. But let's get on to it. Chapter 75, Part 2. Oh god, it starts with a content warning about sexual content pertaining to a minor. Ring the Philly abuse counter a lot.
Oh no.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, there is.
Oh no.
We'll talk about that when he's done reading this.
I'm not covering the Philly abuse in this one. Suffice to say, technically consensual, as there is now no law saying it isn't in the Wasteland, or in fact in orbit, but yeah, no, skipping. Battle of the Hoof is going badly. The Legate and the Brood are going in full kill, maim, burn, to push everyone into the nice little controlled spaces, preferably the core at that. Blackjack and Scotch have a talk to try and deal with the Scotch hating Blackjack for not saving them. Why? Because Scotch wanted Blackjack to do more than she could to save P21, Rampage, etc. Understandable, but still wrong-headed. Blackjack couldn't have saved P21, his internal organs were ground beef. The Legate is freaking out due to homage, got the populace to sing, and given the priorly mentioned bit about ponies singing, the tide of battle has turned against the Brood. Folks are fighting to the last instead of falling back into the core. Oh, no so much less despair to get off to. Fuck you, Legate, and your damn Lich Star. Legate goes on about how the futility of life and how he hates it since he is immortal, and despises losing family, friends, lovers, children over and over, so he wishes to end the cycle, just like the Eater wishes to undo the cycle of death, claiming it. Anyone who ever utters the term foolish mortals is automatically a fool. Then again, Discord did say immortals were stupendously rigid in how they viewed reality as a fixed thing. No wonder the Legate hates life and that chaotic, unpredictable thing. The Legate's heart is destroyed, making him turn into an Akira-style flesh monster, and then the Eater of Souls gets to the surface, opens one bell for eye, and starts destroying everything as it produces limbs to begin crushing life and prepare for horizons to land in the Fade Shields to feed it the energy it needs to live once more. Oh, and Morning Glory is still alive. However, Golden Blood is now dead, and there are a ton of others. So that was something.
Man. Earlier, I was gonna say I was lied to about Legate, and that his motivations were still stupid but not as infuriating as I was told. but apparently I was not lied to, and he is just a fucking idiot.
Oh, and what's even better is that I think it was interesting how it was described how his powers are of regeneration. It's not true regeneration. It's
Yes.
more like imprinting a stasis point on reality on him.
Yes. And when his heart was destroyed, it undid that, and he basically went full Akira and became this giant, horrific mass of flesh as thousands upon thousands of years of growth all happen at once instead of just being concentrated into a fixed point.
Ugh.
Yeah! Don't worry. It gets fucking worse with that.
Ugh. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as
No.
as much as I enjoy some anime references, which does include Akira, did you Sumper, did you have to? Did you like
Listen, it was either going to be Akira or Evangelion, except for ends up being both.
But yeah, somber. Was that necessary also applies to, stuff requiring disclaimers, especially a disclaimer with that very cursed wording.
also I have to ask, did the sexual scene, like, mind you, I haven't read this far, was it in any fucking way necessary?
No!
Ah.
So, what's the context to it?
So, okay, so Blackjack is just going to be completely out of it in the Perceptron, just looking at shit what's going on down on the planet below as she travels back, as you do, just to pass the time. Because Scotch Tape is a really, really, really angsty fucking preteen, she decides to fucking, I think it's just to spite Blackjack and to feel something, decides to just fuck the bastard.
Again, who the fuck is
Huh?
bastard?
So one of the many mercenaries that were brought on board to Cognitum's plan, one of them was the bastard, who is basically a wet work specialist, essentially. He goes around murdering folks with silenced pistols and just kind of is really good at his job. And there goes my light bulb. Fantastic. So the whole thing with him ends up being that he's not a great person. He will do whatever he's told for money. Thus, therefore, he is the bastard.
Okay, because that's a very interesting naming convention for a fic where pretty much no one is married.
Yeah.
Yeah, come to think about it.
I don't think most people are in the Wasteland. It's probably a very rare thing.
It's we get a bit more information about the bastard a little bit later. And what was her name? The doctor in the collegiate
Triage? Yeah.
triage. I think there's no harm in spilling the beans now because we're going to get onto that soon. Both the bastard and the triage are both pre-war ponies. Not only that, they're brother and sister.
But why aren't they ghoulified?
I don't
we'll get
know.
to it.
It's never mentioned. It's never. They never even discuss it properly.
They do mention it. It's the result of a pre-war experiment, and basically they're time locked.
So
This picture likes to have pre-war ponies still alive. Alright.
Yes.
Yeah, like you had perfectly good mechanism to explain why ponies from 200 years ago are still alive, but you decided to go, nah.
I need to make them extra special.
Yeah.
As
Yeah, the funny thing about this, also in this pornographic, there are multiple ways. And not just which schools. There were multiple ways to do the same thing, and then you just create a new one just for these characters.
I
well,
have
remember, he wanted to write a story about Bastard, but they're like, nah, give us a story about Scotch and Siebes.
Also,
Considering that character is forever tainted by what he did with Scotch, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
also, just a quick query: when was the Bastards first introduced?
They are introduced on the moon as one of the mercenaries fighting against Blackjack on behalf of Cognitum. And Cognitum paid him 1 million bits up front for his service.
What?
Basically, the only reason he swapped sides is because you don't get to spend those 1 million caps if your brains are plastered across the wall.
Yep. So I said, fuck it, I'm on your side because I like being alive, and it's pretty obvious that whatever the fuck Cognitum is doing is going to fucking kill us all, so sure.
Why the fuck not? I'll take my very well paid contract that stupidly paid me up front, and I'll get to live in luxury the rest of my natural born life.
I'm just
Which
going to
may or may
say.
not be short.
I'm just going to say that in this story, it feels like villains and characters are shipped in a conveyor belt and then shipped out on a conveyor belt.
Why do you think I didn't go over the roster of the probably close to 50 different individual conversations of the surviving cast of all the secondary, tertiary, and quaternary characters at Star House when they had the party a couple chapters ago?
Well, yeah, you never know when Somber decides, oh, I have a cooler toy to play with now, and throws characters aside. Alas, poor Reapers.
Oh no.
Alas, poor Reapers, how I knew thee.
You should commit your characters because they make it more interesting because then they develop.
I mean, also another point for this is also there is the Highlanders who, like, I glazed over the fact that they're involved in a couple of spots, but that's because the fact that they're involved comes to nothing. Like, them being there is more just a post-it note of, hey, mention this over they do anything.
Well, the thing is that they're basically just another faction whose bodies are thrown into the grinder again.
Yes. Like, all their warriors are currently fighting in the battle for the hoof, and all the people who can't fight, and basically anyone who isn't, a trained fighter or doesn't want to fight, is sitting in some cave system of old coal mines. Because they think that'll protect them from from basically extermination Nazis happening.
Just the song Dark as a Dungeon comes to mind.
Ah. Can we move on?
Yes, we may
Yeah, I
move
was
on.
about to say.
Yes, chapter 76.
Blackjack and Scotch arrive in the airspace over the core. The core vaporizes the rocket and Blackjack flies into safety. Innovation is fucking nasty and reaching out to an ungodly distance, but a bottle of sparkle cola filled with moon dust protects them. They land in Scrapyard and trot to the collegiate where Glory is being healed. They come across a severed brood, being told when to kill Blackjack. But beyond this, the city is just one massive killing field. Countless brood dead, but also mares, stallions, and foals dead too. All slaughtered to enrage the Twilight Society into firing Celestia 1, which then was intercepted by the Fade Shields to consume the energy and feed it back into the core to raise the Eater of Souls. Suffice to say, the core is namely just a few shattered black pillars with turrets on them when the Silver Nightmare is floating there menacingly. Glory is, well, alive for now. The Bellfire bomb failed to kill her, as did the rocket launch, but the radiation from the Bellfire bomb toasted her after the shields turned off. Being at the heart of a Bellfire crater is not good for your health unless you're a mutant, and she isn't. So she got a dramatic amount of time left to live, enough for a touching goodbye in a dreamscape by Blackjack, where they get to live one last peaceful afternoon in a green, calm world. But Glory doesn't rest and walks Blackjack through how to put an end to the nightmare and to end the Eater and save the world. Smart Pegasus, but she's running out of life and spends those last few moments saving everyone else with her plans and giving Blackjack a hug. Rest in peace, Glory. Also, the Eater of Stars is not just one solid object, but, star metal. Anyways, plan set to destroy the generators that will power them, will power holding Tom in place while the Eater consumes them instead of the Fate shields, will then consume the power of the reaction to a degree while holding it in the core and shunting the rest into space, saving the world but vaporizing the heart of Huffington. Solid plan, another solid plan. Grace, Blackjack's very removed cousin and descendant of Shiny Armor, will carry Blackjack's folds. Then Blackjack will go on a final suicide mission. I believe this is not long after the really quite epic scene of all the workers in the basement of the golf course, basically just picking up whatever tools they've got and just start setting upon the brood.
Yes, and Grace goes to join with them while Splendid fucks off. He's like, nah.
Is another reference to 40K.
Yeah.
That was
Really?
basically a reference to the first war for Armageddon. Sorry, actually,
Yes.
the second war for Armageddon, not the first one. The first one never happened.
Anyway.
Meeting is held, and a filly starts licking star metal. Then again, she is one of the 4 10,000-year-old Star Katari from before, so whatever. Anyways, not all star metal is from the Eater, so other stars have shed metal onto the world, or whatever. Point being, box made out of star metal controls the brood. A shit ton of ambient souls find their way into the brood after the legate had the star metal cube removed from him. So nobody can really destroy it, and destroying it would leave the lost souls taking over the brood, implanted with the final orders of the legate. Blackjack breaks as she watches armies clash with the core, attempting to beat it, breach it, destroy the Eater of Souls, and failing. Even Pip with the S.P.E.C.I.A.L hub tries but is forced to retreat when the attacks against her and Celestia change and directly go for the soul. Spike dumps Blackjack off at Star House. At some point, she wanders out of the shields protecting the Collegiate. Within the Star House, she finds a letter from Goldenblood who explains to her what she must do to grow a society, a civil one, out of the factions of in the Hoof and beyond. His final recompense, his way to save Equestria and repent for his crimes. Blackjack talks to everyone who is surviving and then checks her pip book. Half an hour till the end of the world.
Clock is ticking.
Yes, clock is ticking. So,
right. I do have to point out once more that Sober takes a jab at the original by saying, "Hey, even the original fellow couldn't beat my evil."
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yes, the one-upmanship counter goes ding.
We could have been left without that particular notion. Thank you very much.
Yes.
The story works without that.
Yeah, it's a small scene. Like, it makes sense what's going on. Basically, Pip is directly controlling the weather in the area by having moved the SPP, which can fly, apparently. Whatever. And is using a storm above it to basically use lightning as a destructive weapon.
can we hold here for just a second?
A tombstone on and move on.
Where were we?
I believe the chapter before, 2 chapters before the epilogue, weren't we?
We were at the end of chapter 76.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
All right. Chapter 77. We're coming to the end, everyone. Blackjack and 8 others board a rail car into the core. Blackjack has a whole new group of folks at her side. Dusk, Whisper, Crumpets. Told you that she doesn't die. Lancer, Pythia, Psalm, Ares, and Sweetie Bot. All folks whose lives changed thanks to Blackjack are now here to repay her, given the rest of the main cast is dead. Time for big goddamn heroes. Then the dying starts happening from the nightmares, gibbering flesh, and things best left without a name or description for the sanity of any who know it. Just by the by, I don't know. Didn't they remember they met like flesh that wasn't actually even aggressive?
That is later.
Ah,
That's specifically in the very final segment of the chapter.
anyway. It's pretty long, but great scene. The very world itself is out to kill everyone. Guess the Eater of Souls knows that it is in danger. Something is not supremely confident in this plan. Lancer dies first, and then the dealer, not Echo, starts counting lives lost as the train goes on into the heart of the core. Yeah, dealer is a separate entity than Echo. Getting into the core, the legate is not dead. The giant flesh form of them is within it. The final boss, building sized features, a reward for his eternal servitude to the dead stars. On a track circling the cavern the Eater Souls resided in for so long the crew began to distract, harm, and fight the legate to buy time to get the 6 star metal generators prepared to catch horizons and seal the fate of the universe. Dusk is consumed by the legate's horrible form after Blackjack destroys one fragment of his heart, keeping him tied to the mortal realm. Sweetie Bot burns herself out, blowing a hole in the legate so the second to last shard of his soul may be destroyed. Dusk bursts out of the legate, missing her skin, but gives the opening for Blackjack to get the second to last shard of his soul. Crumpets gets the last shard to Blackjack, and is then crushed along with Ares. Ares dies, that's 3. The Blackjack tricks the legate into talking, into saying that he is important to the Eater of Souls. The Eater is awake now and shows the legate that he was always a pawn. Not a rook, not a knight, not a bishop, nor a queen, but a pawn. As such, pawns are sacrificed to facilitate victory, and so is the legate. Everyone else is teleported to the Collegiate while Blackjack goes to the final fight. Not alone, though. The dealer shows up to escort her. Given what Pythia says in the great game is going, and this is the hand that is about to end, and all they need is for someone to deal the cards. It makes sense that he shows up. That's right, the stars and the things even greater than them are all in on this fight. Let's finish this. Wait, we're only halfway through the chapter? Oh dear. The dealer forces Blackjack to tell the origin of her cutie mark. Lays out that it isn't an ace and queen of spades, but the ace and queen of swords. How fitting, a tarot card reading. Simply put, the two together in this way are horribly fitting for Blackjack's confusing, erratic, chaotic, death-filled life. And so is the origin of her cutie mark. Long ago, when Go Fish was just a filly, she went to a card game after curfew. A friend, her only friend, until she left the stable, and her were the two who had yet to win a round. The only one to not win a round had to go and get picked up by security, so the rest were able to escape punishment. Blackjack lost that last round, whined, and her friend said she'd go in her place. And then, a door crushed her, and the cutie mark showed up. Her cutie mark, for all the good and ill, is paying the price to win when having a losing hand. Winning at all costs, even at the price of the lives of others. The dealer is questioned on what he is. He is not her insanity, he is something else, a primal spirit. He says he is the best described as the wasteland itself, the desolation, the loss, the pain, and the sacrifice. The twisting of someone's morals and ethics until they are a monster, perpetuating what created them. He needs not to kill, only to break and twist. What a delightful monster. But he is more than the waste. He is what corrupts people, the cause of murder, strife. Wasteland or no utopia ever exists. Amusingly, only the Eater of Souls could put an end to him, through the undying unity praising itself. Hence, Dealer is showing up now for his fun to continue. The Eater must die. Without discontent, there is no desire to fulfill in horrible ways. And now, Blackjack, most dangerous thing he has ever created, will put an end to the one thing that could stop him. And Blackjack is out of others to die for her. Time to die, time to win. Within the nest of the Eater of Souls, all those captive souls swarm, forming a hollow column into the maw of the Eater. Flesh oozes and forms a strange life that is content to watch, and the Eater itself rests on a bed of silver string like a massive bird egg. Blackjack makes her choice to not use EC-1101 to tame the Eater, and instead destroy the massive parasite that would damn the world and universe. She fires her moonstone shell into a star metal fade shield generator, and it begins the end. The Eater tries to subdue Blackjack with dreams constructed to make her content. This fails, she moves on. EC-1101 is dumped into the Eater of Souls without direction, and it causes it pain. True, actual pain. Something it has not felt in eons. Hey Eater, you're alive. Pain is a sign of that. Too late to stop your plans. Time for the third impact. Tom is near impact. The Fade Shields are ready to catch him for the Eater to consume. The Eater now has a more comprehensible form and begs Blackjack to let it do their job. To end the suffering in the universe, to protect existence from the yawning infinite void that awaits when all energy in the universe runs out. To give peace to the universe and end the march of entropy. To bring about the ultimate order and crush the cycle of life and death so only existence remains. But to live is to know it comes to an end someday. This would not be life, but stasis. Unending, unchanging, unmemorable. An anathema to what it means to be alive. Blackjack gives up everything she ever had in her life to give others a chance to live, to do better, to change. To say yes to the Eater's offer would be to spit on the lives of those who came before her, and to spit upon her own hardships and suffering. To erase the bright moments of her life. Ultimate order is not an option, nor is ultimate chaos, as Discord stated. Blackjack finishes off the fate shields needed to allow Tom to destroy the Eater. Death comes to the Eater finally, and Blackjack, without her heart, hangs on for dear life to see it end. And so, the Eater is no more. Nor is Tom, as Horizons finishes its job. Tens of millions of souls, if not more, are freed and move on, nestling into the earth, going into the stars, vanishing over the horizons, and Luna leaves Blackjack's body, leaving her a machine with the memories of Blackjack as her original body slowly shuts down, out of power, out of life, out of time.
I feel like I should link the moment in Bambi where it's the part with your mother is dead, she'll never come back, and then it's like happy spring music.
Yeah.
I feel like it fits here.
Also, on another note of referencing fandom memes, Sweetie Bot? Seriously?
She's been in
But
the,
did
in
she
the
even
story
come
for
into the
some
picture?
time. She's been in the film, the story for some time.
Yes.
I'm aware, still.
Oh, it's one of Horse's fuckbots, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
It was also Cogniton's original form.
No, that was Applebot.
No, it was Sweetie Bot, because Horse absolutely adored Sweetie Belle.
Oh, right. In the story where Cognition first showed up was one of the two fuckbots. I forget which.
It was Sweetie Bot because Horse is a disgusting degenerate and is absolutely the worst.
Yes. Oh yeah. I should mention that when they were in the core earlier, several chapters ago, Horse was still alive in there and had his mind completely sapped of all knowledge, just stayed there in a cryogenic tube, just to be the cruel plaything of Cognitum
Oh,
because
and he
she
had
hated.
no skin.
Yes, again with the removal of skin.
Why skin specifically? Why?
Man, both Glory and her older sister sure suffered immensely.
What's with...
Yeah.
I know flaying is my preferred method of threatening someone, but Jesus Christ, what is with Thumber and flaying?
I don't know.
Especially since the skin is not the weakest organ in the body, so yeah.
No, it just causes untold agony, but doesn't necessarily kill you.
Yeah.
Let's move on, as fun as this is.
Yeah. Thoughts on that chapter?
This was a fucking journey. All this took place in less than half an hour, by the way.
Yes. In 29 minutes and 54 seconds.
Cutting it to the wire there, Blackjack.
And boy, it sure takes a hell of a lot longer to read, though.
Yes.
Around
Yes.
3 hours.
Yes.
I mean, I will say this thing. The punchline here, or hold on, where was it? I'm now missing the point here. Damn it. There we go. About Blackjack giving up everything she had in her life to give others the chance to live, blah blah blah, and to bring about ultimate order and cross the cycle of life and death, so only existence remains. This particular line would have worked better if Somberhead would have gone with his original plan and had multiple protagonists.
Yeah.
To basically enforce this.
Yep.
To be fair, Blackjack isn't the one really thinking that. That is my own poetic license on about 5 pages worth of dialogue.
Fair
Not
enough.
dialogue, but just stuff being said. And Blackjack is not that philosophical.
Fair enough. But the intent is there, so
Yeah.
it would have been made more impactful if
Where it was a series of sacrifices of characters that we were reviewing through, yeah.
yes, and then the final one saying, "Oh, I know what all this did. This is
Yeah.
my choice now. Am I going to just let this thing pass?"
Yeah. And to be fair, I'm realizing it now. This last bit is literally like it's a mix of the third impact from Evangelion, but it's also Lonesome Road from New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make a choice. Well, I make a new choice. No.
Also, I did notice the rail descent. That made me think of the freaking rail descent, slow descent down while all those tunnels.
Yes, it is very akin to that because they're constantly being assaulted on that ride down, just like the fucking gauntlet of that elevator ride. Oh. And I'll be honest, there were points where I was having a hard time keeping track of who was doing what and what was happening. Like, that summary makes it a lot more easy to follow what is going on. Because it does drag on at some points, and I'm like, wait, who are we dealing with?
I will say, well, I said my piece on this particular thing, but so.
I mean,
So-
I think it actually is kind of well written, her final death.
Yes.
Yes, it just, I'll be honest, at this point, Black has died way too many times to be even believable, so it's cheapens the death somewhat, but I believe
here's a little bit of something that's just gonna rub some salt in that wound.
I have read the epilogue.
She ain't dead yet.
Oh, so I should mention this. Right before Blackjack sends the others away, she asks Pythia to do what she can to make certain she wins, that she will pay any price. Pythia is terrified by this because she knows what the stars will do, but goes through with it and calls in every favor she can. And I will go and put at the I'll explain at the very end what the final price that Blackjack had to pay, because it is obviously a very heavy one for a character like her.
Right. Oh yeah.
So, epilogue time.
Finally.
About time.
All right, let us go into this.
I kind of mentally checked out up until this point, but now I'm interested again.
Epilogue. We cut to a campfire where someone has been telling this story to Wastelanders. Obviously, folks find it bullshit. Nobody can die and come back that many times and deal with such a constantly escalating game for the fate of the world. Oh. Blackjack is dead, her body was found, and a tomb for her in chapel was built. Even her pip book is there on display with logs of the whole thing. EC 1101 not included. Factions of the New World are explained. The Hoof is now Commonwealth, the Lunar Commonwealth, because of course. While the NCR remains, two nations formed in dramatically different ways and having their beef with one another because of their politics, heroes, and history. Scotch Tape is confirmed to have survived, but vanished eventually. We won't get onto that. If you want to know why, go read Project Horizon's Homelands. By the way, Scotch, Magina, and Pythia are kind of friends and cover notes of the legate's personal store that Magina's mother secreted away when they fled from the legate. This is the plot hook for Homelands. They find the Caesar's actual final order, the order to close shut the eye of the world. I would, on a slight note, recommend that story. I actually quite like it.
I am meaning to get around to reading it once I have the willpower to read something again.
I do recommend it. It still has quite a few sombrisms, but I think he has, in ways, genuinely improved as a writer after Horizons. He still has some pretty bad problems, but there's a lot to like about that story, I think.
Yeah, and even through the story, he did grow as a writer a fair bit, so I believe it.
It has been 200 years since the end of Project Horizons. Little Pip is still kicking around and stopping the nascent nation-states of the New Equestria from going to war with one another from the S.P.E.C.I.A.L. Surprised that nobody ever went after that. Grace lived, and so did the twins she carried from Blackjack. The names of, though, Baccarat and Billowette. Pale blue with black and blue striped manes and tails, an earth pony colt and a unicorn filly, who both look like a mix of P21 and Blackjack, living the life those two should have had, innocent and free of the horrors of their home. Grace has continued her reforms, serfs are no more, the Hoof is united, and she serves as the leader by the good graces of the other factions. She uses the money collected as taxes for the betterment of everyone while letting Elysium remain a ruin. Grace spots, well, Blackjack watching on to see how they are doing, but ignores it, knowing better than to drag Blackjack back into the life of the others. If Blackjack ever wants to be part of anyone's life, she would not just trot right in. She would just trot right on in, as she always did. 200 years in the future, the last of the SVP towers are torn down, and the Pegasi finally get back to being the shepherds of the weather, trusted once again. A Griffin invasion and Dragon War occurred and hurt the Lunar Republic. However, in the 200 years, technology has slid back in as the ability to rebuild was too slow to outpace entropy. Folks are more often carrying around a blade than a gun. The two wars that occurred were ended thanks to alicorns. Hard to beat a shit ton of mega magic users when all you have that is beaks and claws to fight with. Glimmershine is the great, insert relevant greats, grand filly of Blackjack, and Blackjack has quietly kept an eye on her family line for a long time as a quiet hidden guardian. Oh yeah, Blackjack is alive, and we'll cover that in a bit. As is Little Pip. Oh yes, and Blackjack and Pip are good friends at this point. But Blackjack took a long time to come to terms with her immortality.
You're breaking up.
What was the last thing you heard me say clearly?
I heard what you were saying, but you were turning into a Decepticon for a bit.
Sorry.
Blackjack is alive.
Blackjack is alive, and we'll cover that in a bit, as is Little Pip. Oh, and yes, Blackjack and Pip are good friends at this point. but Blackjack took a long time to come to terms with her immortality, to having lost everyone, her mind getting lost in the past and present. Understandable, so much pain and disjointed points of her life from concussions, death, and resurrection would make her mind crumble, but someone helped her, and Sam became dear friends at her side. Boo, Blackjack, and Pip are friends. Pip had a hard 5 years after her friends died of old age, and Snips removed Celestia's soul from the SPP so that she could rejoin Luna in the Ever After. Also, Pip's immune system, even after 200 years, hasn't fully recovered. Her body doesn't age, an immortal, frail unicorn that time forgot in the company of 2 other time-forgotten ponies. Boo has become the Mare Duel with Rainbow Dash's old suit. So consider this, the mysterious stranger from FOE is the spawn of discord and functionally immortal. Honestly, makes sense. A new form of pony exists on the moon. Oh yes, Pip and Blackjack take a rocket to the moon, not to the SPP. That is ruined and a rusting hulk in the Everfree. Pip and Blackjack find the moon is haunted, again, by these 2 new metallic and crystal ponies. Go figure, crystal ponies don't need air to survive. Blackjack and Pip find Rampage, destroy the talisman as a final act of regeneration gives Rampage one last life to live. The story ends with the 3 on the moon preparing to go home, staring up at their home with Pip asking one question: do you regret it, what you gave up? Blackjack, not a bit. What price she is paying we'll never know. Maybe it is her immortality that is the price. To never get to be with her friends again in the Ever After. To each day try to do a little bit better and a little bit more good. The end.
Man,
It's still weird to see a little Pip,
Yep.
in the story as a character who acknowledges Blackjack as a major character in her life.
I think in this case, it is entirely warranted. When you're immortal, you're gonna look for a company of immortals.
Yes.
Yes.
And legitimately, Homage, when asked Blackjack to keep an eye on Lil Pip and try to help her immune system recover. And so she did after they died. She was like, no, I'm sticking with you, make sure you stay sane. I'm going to, help you be able to live a life again.
Yeah, but
It's
it's
still
still weird.
awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Especially Homage asking her, hey, hang out with my girlfriend forever.
Yeah.
like writing wise it feels a little but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is something of a story, and I'll be honest, there was the only part of the story I didn't actually fully complete. I just really couldn't stomach the whole of the epilogue.
That's fair. You didn't have to this time.
But why?
It just was so much. It was another 2 hours of my life I'll never get back, and I already gone through the whole story. I was prepared to fuck it. I won't listen to this.
Yeah, because it is 13,000 words.
Oh shit.
I can see why it's not work because it goes through two
It goes through
two
several
events, 200 years apart. So basically, it covers 400 years.
Yeah.
And how situation develops in those 400 years. So
Yeah.
And then the final thing with Rampage, which did not actually get covered in there. Nah.
What I find really weird is that doesn't make any sense to me, that technology would, backslide like that.
Agreed. It feels like they're setting up for basically, hey, I'm going to write a story based in a post-Fallout Equestria setting that's basically Skyrim.
It's especially strange considering some of the things we see in Homelands.
I didn't understand any of that. Can you repeat?
It's especially strange in light of some of the things we see in Homelands. Because I think Gary and I might have mentioned this in the Concordat episode. The apocalypse there was societal collapse, not nukes. A lot of technology is still around in ways you wouldn't expect.
I see.
To be fair, even in Fallout Equestria, areas outside of the hoof, and they mention this as well, there are thousands of automated factories ready to go with EC 111 or 1101 giving them commands. So there are automated factories across Equestria that are still in working condition that just need people to go in there and turn it on and tell it to start working.
Yeah,
It
or
already
just
and-
feed
requires.
materials. That's it.
Yes,
Also,
and even and even without those factories, I'm pretty sure there would be ponies around who know how to work a freaking lathe.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty actually. And consider, I'm 100% sure when they were preparing for stables, they prepared educational material to pass on industrial knowledge
I think
and the
it's.
sciences.
I think this
You
is meant to be another 40k reference.
Unfortunately.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
So basically, the 40k reference in question is the STC chips. Basically, in the 41st millennium, they did have faster than light travel, but even then, the huge distances involved in the first wave of human expansion, you'd still be generations even traveling at faster than light speeds, getting from one place to another. So you basically didn't have people being able to maintain the knowledge across that time. So the way they did it is they created STC chips, which had all the information that you would need to create the things that you would need at the place you got to. You can basically just plug this into any kind of standard Imperial manufacturing facility, and it will produce things to these construct templates. They're so valuable because the 41st Millennium doesn't have the ability to just make new stuff. There has been a massive disconnect between the past, when things were being developed, and the now.
Yeah. To be fair, this also could just be a general Battletech reference because Battletech did that before 40k did.
Oh yeah.
About 40 years.
So, knowing that there's other 40k references, I'm willing to bet money that
it's more likely the 40k
actually,
reference
yeah.
than it is the BattleTech reference. I'm not ruling it out, but it seems more likely.
The fact that there is no factory of these automated factories existing, and it's basically Somber entirely forgot that they existed as a plot point, means that this ending honestly makes no sense.
Not to mention that in both Fallout and Fallout Question, we have a tech hoarding faction that collects knowledge.
There's probably
Yes.
several already.
Yes.
They ain't the only ones. The fact is that, there's no reason for technology to degrade to that point, except because GM Fiat, or writer Fiat.
Yeah, because Somber just kind of forgot about his previous plot points once again and was in a rush to introduce his new cool idea.
He pulled a D&D. That we kind of forgot the Iron Fleet.
Yeah. Again, there are some interesting ideas in here of how does a person who is, just a normal person deal with immortality? And and the answer is not well. You have to take a period of time to adjust to, this notion of, hey, time doesn't move any faster for you just because you live longer. In fact, it moves possibly even slower because you're constantly thinking about how things will end for this person that you're getting close to, and end up questioning whether or not you want to get close to someone. This is one option where basically they sequester themselves away from society and live forever. They fade away.
I also don't think that's entirely accurate to people.
To some people. To more introverted people, it definitely is. To extroverted people, they cannot live without other people in their life. And instead, they will have celebrations of life throughout time for those
the thing
who...
is that even introverted people like myself, that we still deeply treasure our friends.
Yes.
And this is just an opportunity to have so many new and interesting experiences through your friends. Yes, they will unfortunately die, and that is a sad moment. But
Yes.
people do that without immortality now.
Yes.
I mean, in favor of that argument, if it's something that keeps happening, if you have that many friends, you'll eventually realize it will be painful, yes, but it will be for a little bit, and you have the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
So, in the grand scheme of things, you get more out of it than you lose.
Yeah, because if you
And-
don't make friends with while you're immortal, even if they're mortal friends, you're hurting yourself more than the moments of pain of their passing compared to all the joy they can bring to your life.
I know that people aren't logical, and that might not be the thought process going through their head. But the fact is that your friends will never truly die if you're immortal. You'll still have their memories, because if you're functionally immortal and you don't age, like the 3 immortals we see in this story, then you'll have no loss of mental capacity to remember them.
Yeah.
I was literally just thinking of that someone could arrive on that conclusion that to them, their friends could effectively live forever.
Yeah. There's also the whole thing of souls exist and there's the ever after, and you probably can summon them back from the dead to chit chat every once in a while.
Yeah, if you've got immortality to work with, you can develop magical methods to bring back the souls of your friends into some sort of vessel in which you can talk to them, interact with them for a while.
So there's a little
Uh,
problem called consent.
So the thing is that you don't do necromancy and resurrect them. Instead, you make a spirit phone. That's what we're
Yeah,
thinking.
I understand, but at the same time, there are problems with that. Still.
Again,
Depends if you're calling them or if you're pulling them to have
yeah.
a chat. That's the thing.
Also, this entire thing also depends on how the afterlife cosmology works in the setting. Because
Which
are they just there forever, or do they move on somewhere, or start a new life, or what?
so what they explain is that when you die for a period, your soul kind of drifts and then it gets recycled into a new body. It can be either the laws of physics of the
Okay.
planet, the stones, or whatever. So that is the way it works off of. Which, funny enough, that's just an Elder Scrolls reference. Like when he describes
I know.
afterlife, it's literally the dream sleeve and all that.
Yep.
Stuff. Ugh.
Which, I mean, I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yes, it is. It also makes your mind start hurting.
Why though?
It's also somewhat fights against all the Christian lectures that have been going on at this week.
Mm-hmm.
Incidentally, which is kind of funny.
I do hope for more test references in the future, though. Just personally, though.
Okay. That's the end. Can we go for some closing arguments?
Sure, Mr.
Yes.
Lawyer Horse.
First thing I'm gonna say, go read Homelands. Because for all the stumbles it makes, for all the problems Somewhere still has, it has, I think, some genuinely creative and original, or unique, rather, world building compared to what usually happens in a fandom. Because, he still steals quite a bit, but
he steals from interesting sources.
I don't know. I just love strange and creative world building, and Homelands does lots of that. As you'll consider some of it is sometimes.
I mean,
Also, it does have a lot of likable characters.
Oh yeah.
Like actually genuinely likable characters and interesting ones.
I'll put a rain check on that one myself.
I genuinely think that Homelands, he did learn from the mistakes he made in Project Horizons. Not all of them. Not all of the lessons were learned. And you'll notice that when you read it. But
I will not read it.
I highly recommend that people read Homelands. This is an official recommendation from me as the host of Post Apoc Horse Talk.
And I second that Somber really shines with making characters and factions interesting and likable and easy to get invested into. Like hell, I'd say for me, Somber's greatest achievement with this fic was, making the Enclave a hell of a lot more interesting with the Thunderhead Enclave.
Yeah, I can say that in this particular case, Somber has skills. He basically managed to create multiple memorable sections here and there. The main issue I faced here was basically that I addressed in other parts, that there are multiple of things that could have been chopped off from the story as a whole and used as reference material or stories of their own. And I believe the story would have fared better with that, with basically another look through the editor screen.
Yeah, turning them into a series of books and side books, so 4 books plus Homeland and whatever other spin-offs.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of this being one humongous piece of literature, I believe that would have been a better way to do it. And also, yes, committing to the idea of multiple protagonists as the general arch of things, it would have fared better, made it more interesting, and definitely the ending would have been a bit more impactful as a result of it.
But all in all, I still feel that Project Horizons isn't a good story. There is still lots to like about this story, even with its many, many, many faults.
I gotta agree with that, because when you're faced with such overwhelmingly powerful and numerous badness, I don't know how else to put it, you can't help but fall back to remember the good times. In a way, I guess. Like, reading this epilogue, I come away, I guess, relieved and feeling better. Not because it ends, but I don't know, it just helps me remember the parts that were actually good.
Which is kind of amusingly what they point to for how to deal with moving on is remember the good parts. Everything did happen, but hold on to the good parts and try and bring good to others. Honestly, I really don't recommend people read Project Horizons. It is far too long and in places is very amateurish. There are some really good parts to it, but you're probably better off just going straight to Homelands given the suggestions of others because the quality of the work is better. It hopefully also has no content warnings, which are terrifying to come across as someone trying to get into a story. You come across something saying, hey, you probably don't want to read this one. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, there are still some questionable bits in Project Horizons. Sorry, not Project Horizons, Homelands, but they become less questionable.
They also get described in detail.
So?
Usually.
Yeah, I was about to ask if Homelands is as grim and dark as this one is, because in that case,
not even close.
I will just skip.
Not even close. It is much more reasonable. It's a bit darker than the original, but doesn't wander into the same levels of just dark for the sake of darkness as
I would say a good way to put it is that it handles the dark much more maturely.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Which I do really appreciate in a piece of media.
Yeah. Like, if you're going to go dark, make sure you can approach it in a mature manner and not just throw things at the reader to, try to make them feel bad for what's going on. So that's low tier writing stuff. That's fucking Hollywood level of writing, and Hollywood's fucking bankrupt at writing.
Shock value is just No.
Yeah,
No.
it's basically a lot of people when they write dark things, which Fallout Equestria in general is a dark setting. They decide to take the route of the slasher, where it's about shock value, it's about putting it in your face and making you uncomfortable. When instead it should be more about exploring how that world is and how people manage to keep going over.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, give us the atmosphere. Don't give us the slasher horror stuff. Slasher horror stuff is boring. It's tedious and it takes up our time.
And remember that you do need to balance it out as well, because if all you have is depression and dark, even if it's handled maturely, then what's the point?
Yes,
It becomes tiring.
and this is the main thing when it comes to a dark story: is there needs to be a light at the end of the tunnel. The brightest light shines in the darkest darkness. Like you need to understand that and make sure that it isn't everything is doomed. End of story. Enjoy the suffering. It needs to be things are bad, but there's hope it will get better and move towards that. Because a dark story should be inspirational. It should not tear people down.
It is. Yeah. If anyone else has any more thoughts to say, do they have anything else to say?
I have said my piece.
Same.
Yeah, it has its flaws. Thankfully, it inspired people to, write their fanfics, try to be a bit more daring with the stuff they explore, like introducing cyborgs and the Enclave and stuff like that. So, all in all, I mean, I'm glad that the fic is around in the fandom, but as Nexus and others have said, that is not a recommendation to read it.
Yes.
I
And
think
I agree. As all the problems it introduced into the fandom, all the bad and not very useful ideas and tropes it introduced, the amount of energy and life it injected into the sub fandom, I think, is completely invaluable.
so. I think I'd like to make up the final closing points and close up for the night. I hope you now, after having watched this rather marathon breakdown of this story, why I strongly maintain the point that as much as my dislike of this story is my overwhelming feeling about it, that this is truly a magnum opus moment in the fandom. Even if it isn't great, it is by far, in my opinion, the one of the single most important works that's ever come out of this sub fandom. It made a whole different wave of people come into the fandom and bring their own injection of creativity, and basically gave a second wind to what was probably at that point going to eventually just be a flagging sub fandom within this a movement that was already predestined to eventually fall apart. I hope you now understand my position here and understand that there is a lot to object about this story, but there is so much here that is very much worth looking at and praising for its quality. So on that note, this has been Post Apoc Horse Talk. I've been your host, Galantagius. This is my co-hosts, BG and Nexus of Concordia, and my guests tonight have been Moonlight Grimoire, Sour Cherry, and Whack. And until next time, Project Horizons is an interesting story, though not one that we can all say that is a good one to read. And have a good night.